We are a group of friends, bound by our appreciation for liberty and good podcasting. Free-minded thinkers from all walks of life, our values come together with one accord to discuss the common culture and news of the day, along with whatever random crap is going on in our lives. Welcome to the Union of the Unknowns. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Union of the Unknowns. I'm your host tonight, Keel Thor. With me are a couple of unknowns. She's a woman of high sophistication, Ashley Think, Change, Repeat.
Hello.
And she's a true Sheila from the land down under, StellaQ.
G'day, everyone.
Stella, I have a question for you because you might know the answer. I'm sure Ashley does not.
Shoot.
What does it mean to darn something? For
To
example,
darn something?
yeah, if I were darning my socks.
Oh, well, that's repairing them with wool or something that matches the original sock. Like
There you
Grandma
go.
used to do.
Ashley, were you aware of that term, darning?
Well, I was getting ready to go to the private chat and send you some strong wording, but no, I thought that it was like, I'm going to put on my socks.
So
A darn socks.
I bring this up because it was something I learned very recently. I didn't know what that meant. And so it comes from a lyric from a Beatles song from Eleanor Rigby. The priest is darning his socks when there's nobody there. I thought they were saying donning his socks, meaning he was putting them on.
Right.
And why would you bother putting your socks on if there's nobody around? But
It's
apparently,
England. His feet were cold, obviously.
I guess he couldn't go and warm his feet by the bog like Jethro Tull would do. But so you darn your socks as you're repairing them, like Stella said, and I had no idea what that meant until recently. And there you go. There you have it, folks. Darning. You can write it down in your journals.
More people should darn their socks.
What's
There you
going on,
go.
guys? How have you guys been?
Let's start with Stella, our sickie here.
Yeah, I'm just crawling my way back to the land of the living here, but I'm doing all right. Thanks for the well wishes too, by the way. I think that got me better.
Very good. Very good. Ashley, are you maintaining your high sophistication levels?
You know, I'm always maintaining my high sophistication, at all times.
Very good.
Thank
Very
you.
well too. What about yourself, Keels?
I'm doing all right. I am actually drinking a cup of coffee. Well, I don't want to cover up my mic. The cup of coffee here, which Ashley found to be quite extraordinary that I was actually drinking coffee because I don't do that very often.
Oh,
No, he
But,
complains very often. He's like, I don't like coffee. I like tea.
That is a true statement. But occasionally throughout the years, I have had a cup of coffee. And then a few months ago, a friend of mine whose wife is Colombian, he travels down there pretty often, and he brought me a bag of, I don't know, Juan Valdez dark roast stuff. And so I make it occasionally, and that's what I'm having tonight, this cup of coffee.
It wouldn't be the civet poo coffee by any chance, would it?
Mm-mm.
Uh-huh.
No, not
Leave
that
it to
stuff.
Kill to like the coffee from poop.
Nope. No. Although, you know what? The shit's boiled, so it's not like you're going to be ingesting, what's that disease you get when you just poop all the time? Dysentery.
E.
You're not going to be
coli?
getting dysentery from it, I don't think.
Well, as long as it's boiled, then that makes it all good, doesn't it? Boiled
Yeah,
poo is
and-
fine.
Exactly.
And-
That's what I keep telling you people, which is why I have a subscription to Bill Gates' poop water.
Nice. Let's do a review. We'll do a review show.
Now that I've said that, I've got a cup of coffee because I needed a little boost this afternoon, but I've also got a glass of bourbon that I'm also sipping on.
As you do.
Yes, and see, silly me, I thought that Keel was going to have some class and put a little splash of the bourbon in the coffee.
That would
So I
make
didn't
more
realize,
sense.
right, obviously.
But then you don't get to taste the bourbon. It's just coffee, and You're just putting a splash in there. What are you really getting out of that?
I don't know.
Boffy.
You tell me. Yeah. Boffy. And then also, I was wondering, Keel, if you would kind of explain how we find ourselves in this episode titled Cheese Titties. You may update it, but
Well, if for our hardcore listeners and viewers, the cheese titties is a very rare subgenre of the Union of the Unknowns. I don't know exactly what constitutes a cheese titty, but we've done it before. Maybe we'll do it again. Hopefully, I don't know.
Well, we like our listeners to get creative. They can put their own meaning to it.
They can. And originally, so today we were going to record our 100th Not Your Mom's News, but it is, it's a challenge getting everybody's schedule and all of that stuff going, and Stella's under the weather, everything. Keel's signing 100. No worries. But yeah, so we wanted to have a big crowd, and with scheduling and everything was a challenge. So then we decided just to do this episode. I would consider it almost like an episode of Seinfeld.
An episode of Seinfeld.
Just without
Seinfeld. You know why?
Why?
This is a show about nothing. It's like whatever we're talking about. Which, to also let people know, the original cheese titties, and this is not being offensive, okay, when I use this terminology, this was because, however this happened, I ended up with a box of crackers that were cheese crackers, and they were called cheese titties. And that's how that came about. And then Keel was showing me how to set up live streaming. This has been a long time ago. And he ended up recording it, and I kept telling him, like, this is not an episode. And he ended up publishing it as an episode, but we were, we were talking about cheese titties, and I had some crackers that night. So that's how that came about.
That was a great episode. That was one of my favorites. I gotta say.
It was pretty fun. Now, if we want to head in that direction, I certainly can try to pull up some nonsense and see what you two think about it.
I like that
nonsense
idea.
is our business.
There's so much of it out there.
So Stella, you've got a little something going on. Have you tested yourself?
For
any of the...
It was weird. It was just a whole conglomeration of many things, but I think, I don't know. It was sort of like this really heavy, fluey thing, which, I refuse to say it's C, the C thing.
There you
because
go.
I don't believe there's a C thing. I believe it's just a flu. But yeah, it was pretty heavy, and I've never slept so much in my whole life. It's been about a week. So I'm just today starting to feel like I'm okay. So thank goodness for that.
Yeah. I'm glad you can, muster up the strength to click some buttons and sit here with us.
I had to crawl in on my belly, but I'm here. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that too. I'm glad that you're feeling better. And I know the last time that I had the flu, especially probably the first 5 days, there was no way I was doing anything. I mean, I could not even drag myself belly crawl to get to the desk. Couldn't even make a cup of tea.
Yeah, it's pretty debilitating, whatever it is. But, just the flu, because the flu did go away when the big C came along, didn't it?
Well, that's just due to all of the safety precautions we were taking. Helped keep the flu down, all those masks and distancing we were doing.
And the flattening of the curve, yep. They actually made me wear a mask yesterday. I had to. And I ended up taking it off because I had to wait 3 hours. And that's just at a local medical center, not a hospital.
Yeah, I was wondering, was this a GP or just a place that you just try to make an appointment, like a, what do we call them here, Keel?
Doc in a box.
Urgent care. Yeah, doc in a box or urgent care.
All right. It's one of those, it's a medical center where it's just walk in, so you can't make an appointment. And people are seen in order of the seriousness. Mm-hmm. So you could be sitting there for an hour and a half and then someone comes in, with a broken foot or something. And they'll be seen immediately, sort of thing. So, fair enough. But
you guys have a National Health Service thing down there, don't you? So it's all
We
just
got Medicare, yeah, which is bulk billing, they call it. So yeah, it didn't cost me anything, which is, okay, there's one for the government. One, okay? There's
hey, you
probably
get what
just
you
for
pay
their
for.
benefit anyway. But yeah, there's that. So anyway, I mean, you wouldn't want to be too sick. And I'll tell you what, look, I was sitting in there, and it was about an hour and a half, and I just realized I am so cold because the air conditioning was going, and it's like it's winter. um, so I had to go out and stand in the sun for half an hour to warm back up again. I'm thinking all these poor old people that come in sick and whatever. Most people probably walk out sicker. But anyway,
Want to
whatever.
get
The
sick?
system's
Want to
not
get sick?
perfect.
You go to the hospital.
Yeah, it's all it's all a scam. But I must say, kudos to the doctor because he didn't give me anything. So that was kind of cool because I was
Yeah.
actually there for something slightly different and sort of playing down the flu thing. Because I just sort of stopped coughing around about yesterday, and that sort of also justified me taking my mask off. But so yeah, no, you didn't give me anything and just said, oh, yeah, just give it a few more days and see how you go. Like, okay,
That's good.
thanks for doing nothing
Yeah.
after 3 hours, but I'm actually happy about that. So
Good. I think that's probably a safe bet for generally any level of sickness. Until you feel like you're, about to die, you probably ought to just wait and see.
oh well,
That's
I
how
did feel like I was about
that's
to
how I,
die.
okay. That's how I handle it. But
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
So
Definitely.
Dream Reels is staying here. The stats for flu cases and deaths in Australia, were in 2017 were higher than the stats for the sea in 2020.
Wow.
There you go. Yes, I have read that before. Actually, that's something that just doesn't get spoken about much. Doesn't fit.
Yeah. And even in the years before that, you could find articles, just a random search, and it would say hospital beds overflowing from flu cases, like years and years before the C word happened. It was, and of course, yes, once it did happen, then it was like the flu never existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Terrain
yeah,
theory.
someone says terrain theory. I'm a terrain theory advocate. I have my questions, but I certainly think that needs to be considered. And how do you really know that could be taken out of the equation if the person isn't coming in from a healthy base? Like if you don't have enough vitamin D, sun exposure, enough of the other, vitamin C, basic stuff, basic nutrition, if you have if you're not getting enough sleep and all these other things, like how do we know that isn't what causes you to get sick?
I think it's a legitimate concern. I think it's I don't really doubt that germs exist. I think germ theory is a legitimate thing too. I think it's a combination of it. I think you can be you can not be healthy and not keep yourself in good airs or whatever the phrasing is, and that can cause you to decline and your immune system fails, and whatever wants to attack you is going to attack you. So,
Yeah, well, that's interesting actually because I actually started out where I'd pulled a muscle in my back and quite badly, and it was like twinging all the time, like what do you call it, spasming, and it was so painful. I could barely move, and I was in bed for 3 days with that, and hardly got any sleep because of it. And then I got the flu-y thing happen. It was like that attacked me because I was down. So I don't think it's something I caught from anyone. I think it's something that happened to me because of that situation and no sleep. So yeah, I mean that would sort of fit with terrain theory, wouldn't it?
I think so. I mean, having no sleep and no restoration is very hard on the body. So I think that is definitely could be part of it. And certainly it's silly to not at least take that into consideration and other lifestyle factors.
There's a cool line from the movie The Killer. Don't know if you guys have ever seen that. Or it came out a year or two ago or something like that. It's a David Fincher flick. But anyway, the main character, the killer, he has a line in his internal monologue, and he says, "Of all the, if I get it right, of all the lies told by the American military industrial complex, his favorite one was that sleep deprivation did not constitute torture.
100% is torture.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of
Plus, I
the
think-
one of the used tortures.
Yeah, that's step one, is you keep the guy awake listening to, loud metal music or something, and
Metallica, maybe.
bright lights. Yeah.
Metallica's not gonna sleep to
What?
Metallica.
I'm just saying, like, you blast
And
Metallica loud enough and long enough and deprive somebody of sleep, then it's going to be torturous.
Yeah.
So the more over on Twitch says, pretty easy to get people to believe in things they cannot see, measure, or test. This is true.
100%.
This is true. And the problem that I have too is that we don't, and I'm not blaming people. I'm just saying, like, we're not encouraged to think about things that we, like, okay, they're saying that we have the flu or whatever, or that it's making us sick, but we're not thinking about the other factors. Like, they really don't drive home the point how important vitamin D and natural sunlight is to just your overall health and well-being. And they actively actually try to get you to not get vitamin D. So
True enough.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. All right. Well, you two chat them and see if I can find something for us to talk about.
Okay. So,
Well-
kangaroo levels, do they decline during the winter in Australia?
Not really. I don't think they ever decline. They're always around. I mean,
'Cause
they're in plaguey proportions in a lot of areas. I don't know about now, actually. I mean, talking 20 years ago, whether I haven't been in touch with them since I've left the land, basically.
Oh,
But,
they aren't just kind of everywhere like deer are here. We've
No,
got
they don't-
deer
they don't
white-tailed deer that cross the road constantly wherever you're at.
I was going to say they don't bounce around on the street, but then again, not that long ago, my brother sent me a photo of a kangaroo and the little Joey bouncing around in his street. So
Wow.
I guess they do.
Wow.
Although we're in a regional area, it's not like a city. But
Huh.
no, I haven't seen that.
But
lost-
you've got your lizards that hibernate in the winter.
Yes,
When-
they're definitely disappeared at the moment.
When was the last time you saw Stumpy?
Stumpy. I think it was March or April, which was a bit of an early one. I haven't seen him since. Yeah, I bought him a nice little spa swimming pool thing. It's a big clay, base of it, like a big pot. Cost me about $40, but he deserves it. He's a good lizard.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He's my friend. And oh man, he enjoyed it so much, and so did his wife and the kiddies. There was a couple of them in there at the same time, and just
Oh, nice.
bathing. It was just sort of sitting in the afternoon sun, and yeah, he had a really
That's
good time.
awesome.
That's adorable.
Stumpy is an eastern water dragon, for those who don't know, who sort of semi-adopted me.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of adopted him, but yeah, trained him, and he actually will come up and jump onto my lap, and if I've got a worm sitting on my lap, he'll jump up and sit there and grab it. So yeah, he's fun. I miss Stumpy.
Have you considered doing some landscaping with like a water feature to encourage his frolicking?
No,
Or not going that far?
no. No, there's a gully just down the road with plenty of water and stuff. I'm sure he
okay.
probably cruises down there and hangs around, then comes back. Yeah,
Very nice. Very nice.
he's a good lizard. So what's going on in your world, Keels, Mr. Viking?
Work. It's very busy at work. Kids summer break. So that's going
summer
on.
break.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And should be going back to, we've got a charter school that opened up right near us, so we're going to be sending her there instead of the regular public school, because the regular public school, the see, what do you call it, the district we're in is going to force us to go to a middle school and high school that I'm not sending my kid to those places. They are not good. So but the elementary school is fine. She has another year there, but instead of sending her for the final year there, which she was not pleased about. We're gonna get her into this charter school that opened up while we have the chance, and then that thing carries her through middle school. So, and it seems good. They've had several kind of like mixers and events leading up to it where we can mingle with parents and kids and stuff, and they seem like good folks going to be going there, and we like some of the I like the policies they're going to implement, such as no electronics at the school.
Very
And
good.
They're going to be
Yeah.
teaching her, cursive handwriting and stuff like
Oh,
that.
wow.
Which, yeah. So I
I
don't
thought
know.
that was
We'll
dead in
see.
the water.
So to
Yeah.
this point, she has not been taught cursive in school.
Not officially. I mean, I've taught her some things myself,
Right.
but
Yeah.
she's not. They don't teach it really. Not
That's so-
actively.
what
I
a
don't think they've
crime.
taught that here for years.
Yeah.
Probably not. I
So-
don't think they've taught it here for a long time either. Because I remember some kids like 10 years ago, they were in high school, I think, and I don't think they were teaching them cursive at that time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah,
Like, it's a basic. Why would you leave that out?
I guess they don't need it. My coworker, we were talking about this the other day, and he was saying, as his kid's in high school age, and he's on the high school baseball team, and there was some kind of form that they needed to sign, and he handed it to, like, they were at the place they needed to sign it, and gave it to his kid, and his kid was like, oh, and he's just kind of like wrote his name out in type, like in print, whatever, not cursive at the bottom, and it occurred to my coworker, he's like, oh yeah, they don't teach cursive. He's like, you gotta sign it in cursive, buddy. And
I suppose
we
it's a
don't
little
do
bit
that.
like it's a little bit like teaching Old English now. I mean, you don't really see it anywhere much. Everything's printed, New Times Roman or what have you.
Yeah.
So that's a bummer, actually, because that was something I was hoping I'd be useful for in the future, was teaching cursive to children who don't know what it is.
The
Or
cursive
people,
remnant.
even adults.
Hey.
Pardon?
Oh,
The
was that,
cursive remnant.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a font joke for you.
Shoot.
So, Comic Sans, Times New Roman, and Helvetica went into a bar. The bartender immediately turns to him and says, "Get out of here! We don't serve your type here."
I appreciate that. Nice one. As a graphic designer, I like it.
Yes.
So we did have a question from the Moore 76. One of them said, delve into the fabrication of chronology before. I'm not sure what you mean by that one. And the other one says, how about, is the Constitution of the United States a slave document? Well, I
Was it
don't really know, but I find that to be an interesting question.
like they ground up some slaves and then flattened them out, and that's what they wrote the Constitution on?
I don't think that's what they meant.
Oh.
On their skin.
Chronology.
I think I would tend to actually agree with that personally, because basically, I mean, if the government is making you, or what's the word, ordering you, basically making you do things, mandating, then you're a slave.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of that simple, really.
I think the whole concept that government exists and provides you with your own rights is a horribly backward ass concept.
Right. It's a flawed concept.
The government gives you your rights. The government protects you. The government is God. That whole thing. That's
Safe and
a
effective.
slave concept. But
Yeah.
to in our defense, we did. Some of our founding fathers had the foresight to argue for a Bill of Rights that protected us against that. Whether or not that protects us or not these days is debatable, but at least it's there.
Yeah, and I will say, depending on where you fall in this, in the conversation or in the line of thinking, but some people, of course, there's a lot of admiration for the founding fathers and for separating from England and having our own country and, having our American independence, right?
The American mythology.
Yes, the American mythology, the American experiment, for sure. But then there's some other people that discuss the fact that Okay, I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there, but essentially that you had these groups such as the Masons, the Freemasons, which were certainly a lot of the founding fathers were part of the Freemasons, and that the Masons, some say that the Masons were infiltrated by the same group that maybe infiltrated like the Jesuits and infiltrated, what you name it. Okay, everything has been infiltrated, whether that's like the Illuminati that did it, or whoever you want to say, but essentially that these different institutions have been co-opted in these secret societies. And I think there's maybe some credence to that. Maybe we don't have the hard and fast facts for that, but we do see the co-opting, how it works in today's day and time, right? Like we see institutions become completely co-opted. We see movements become completely co-opted. We see medical and food and education all become co-opted, and everything is moving in the same direction. So I think that at least lends some credence to the idea of that. So if the Masons were co-opted all that time ago, and that the idea was even then to start working towards a one world government, then they say that the Masons wanted to deliberately start separating, and what's the word, bring about the downfall of monarchs because of the ability to co-opt another form of government into moving it forward into the one world government. I don't know that that's what happened, but I think that it's at least plausible that that is what happened.
Sure, I agree. I think
Yeah.
any group that seems to be gaining power over a region, nation, whatever you call it, is going to be, some other group is going to try to co-opt it because other people are better at gaining power than you are, because you're going to be the idealist. You're going to be the one, hey, there's some structured principled stuff. Look at every political movement through the course of history. The one that actually eventually becomes the power in control is the one that either brute forced its way up there and knocked the other guys out, or finagled their way through propaganda and whatnot and took control. And that's in the name of the original effort, what have you. I think that's just a common narrative that happens throughout history. I don't know if there's any example of that not happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, sorry.
Yeah, I'm have nothing else of importance to say to that. That was it.
Okay,
Go ahead, Stella.
sorry. I was just going to say, bring back the famous line from Mr. Klaus. The cabinets have been infiltrated. And, I mean, the best way to bring something down is from the inside, isn't it? So, yep,
Yeah.
chip away from
But
the inside.
once you get inside and you can stick your hand up in the rear end of the puppets that are controlling it, why would you relinquish power? Why wouldn't you just keep that thing going and just control it?
Absolutely.
Why take it down is what I'm saying. Just get in there
Right.
and keep going.
And
I'm
the
sure they
famous
wear gloves.
words, right? The famous words, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it always, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and it was basically like, you have a lot of people in the political space, whether you're on the left, whether you're on the right, whether you're a libertarian, big L, little L, whatever. Anytime you have, or a communist or socialist or whatever, I often see people, who are kind of in the truth community, but they're advocating for like communism.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, why this doesn't make any sense to me, because you can obviously see, if you're in the truth community and you're a researcher and you're seeing the corruption that is taking place, why don't you think that would also happen under communism? It only ever goes one way. That's it. It only ever goes towards totalitarianism.
I mean,
Yep.
read Animal Farm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lays it out. Speaking of that, did you guys know there was an Animal Farm movie that was made in the 90s?
Yeah. Seen it.
I had no idea.
Animated one?
There was an animated one in like the
Yeah.
60s,
Oh, okay. That's the one I've seen.
which is a classic animated film, but there was actually one made in the 90s. I had no idea. And I can't remember why it was I was looking this shit up, but there is another one coming out this year or next year, a brand new one.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah,
Interesting.
the one in the '90s was made using live action animals and animatronics,
Okay.
like puppets. I ended up watching it recently just because I didn't know it was there, so I decided, hey, I'm going to watch it. The ending is garbage, but through the rest of the movie,
Uh-oh.
it's okay. It's okay. It's not terrible, but the ending, yeah, is trash. It's just complete cop out.
I was gonna
Is
ask
that a
what you thought.
Netflix? Sorry, Ash.
No, I can't remember where I found it. Maybe I saw it on Amazon Prime or something like that, but
Okay.
it's out there somewhere. You can find it.
So is the new one that you're talking about, is that animated?
No, I don't think so. You can look it up.
I did.
It's going to be directed by somebody. Oh, the guy that played Gollum in the Lord of the Rings. That guy. He was also in Black Panther. He was the bad guy in Black Panther. That guy, that actor.
Michael Jordan? Michael B. Jordan?
No, not Michael B. Jordan.
Well, he was a bad guy in Black Panther.
I'm talking about the South African guy, the white guy. Like he's from South Africa and he's stealing alien technology to take over the world, kind of thing. That guy. I can't remember what his name is, but he did the when you glue the ping pong balls to your body and they record your digital movements for animation inside of like CGI animation. He was the guy that did the stuff for Smeagol, Gollum, in the Lord of the Rings movies.
All right.
And he also was in the Black Panther as... Anyway, what's his name, Ashley? You're pulling him up right now, I can tell.
I'll pull him up, but I also wanted to say, so the more
He's
76
directing.
said, the Declaration of Independence is the most significant document in history. I do declare. They did not ask permission or get approval. They just wrote it down. I don't disagree with that, and of course, I appreciate a rebellious spirit. I appreciate starting out, striking out on your own. And as much as we're talking about the flaws with what happened with founding fathers, like if it had stayed how it was then, that's tolerable. And it's like there's a meme out there that said if we did I forget what it's called, but whatever is the definition of like monarchy, like a very small government. And it's like what would you say? And it's like, well, I'll go along with it, but I'll complain the whole time. Fair enough. But if we had a monarchy, then we still wouldn't be where we are today. Even if you don't like Ron Paul and you think that he's a shill and you think that he's co-opted and whatever, fair, whatever. But the point is, if we listen to him, we would still be in much better shape than where we are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but
just...
if there was any chance he could have been effective, I don't know. I don't think they would have let him keep going. I don't know.
For sure. And
Well,
I'm not talking about that at all. I'm just saying if what he talks about was implemented, then, and even if we're like, we're going to be constitutionalists, we're going by the Bill of Rights and all of that stuff, then I would say, okay. But they were never going to let that happen. And there's a whole question of whether or not they let that happen originally because he was the founder of the Tea Party movement. And then you have this like cancerous tumor that it's morphed into today, which is like Q and MAGA. It was co-opted, even if it was founded under a pure ideology. And I'm not saying it was. I don't know. I'm just saying here we are.
Yeah. And they didn't let him go. I mean, he was... if you watch say what you will about the Daily Show guy, what was his name?
Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart. He had a very funny montage set up of clips showing how the major news networks were just ignoring Ron Paul when he was running. Was it 2012 or something like that? He was running and he was winning, like in the top 3 in these primary states, and they just wouldn't list him in the list of people that they'd show who won the state? It was whatever his name was, and then there'd be like, and then in the top, at the bottom 5 and 6 and blah blah blah, and they would just skip over Ron Paul, and they would laugh about him. Oh, we're at the Ron Paul rally, and the reporter would turn around. I don't see anybody here, and then they would laugh, ha ha ha, and they'd move on. And it was like they were the whole propaganda political structure was just, they weren't going to let Ron Paul do anything. No matter how many votes he got from people in the primaries and stuff, they weren't going to let him win anything. And then even at the convention, they had people come in that were delegates for Ron Paul. They were going to be allowed to vote for Ron Paul, and then they weren't allowed to vote. Or I'm sure I remember that. I'm quoting that incorrectly, but something like that was happening at the convention that year. And anyway, he definitely got the short end of the stick.
For sure. And, I know a lot of people call Ron Paul into question. Fair enough. But this was a very similar treatment that Bernie Sanders received. And I'm no fan necessarily of Bernie Sanders, but certainly what he was saying, he was at least calling out some things that I thought were important when he was running for president. And he was completely railroaded in the primaries by Hillary Clinton. And people were upset about it. People said something about it. And it was the same thing. They just ignored him and they just acted like it didn't happen. They acted like he didn't win the, I guess it's called the Iowa caucus. It just didn't.
Yep.
Nothing. And it was like, oh, well, something happened with the votes, or there was something weird, or it's going to Hillary Clinton.
The cameras weren't working.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly.
The surveillance camera that was positioned over the Iowa caucus on that night fritzed out, and they lost, a couple of hours of footage there. Whatever. Nothing bad happened.
No big deal.
Did you guys see, speaking of him, did you guys see him talking to Joe Rogan, Stella's favorite podcast recently?
Who's talking to Joe Rogan?
Bernie Sanders.
Oh, no.
No. I didn't.
Wait, I want you to tell us about it. But before we do that, the guy's name is Andy Serkis.
Andy yes. S-E-R-K-I-S.
Andy
S-E-R-
Serkis?
That's right.
Serkis.
Ah.
So it says that exactly what Keel said. So he played Gollum or Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. And then when I looked up Animal Farm, though, it actually looked like it is going to be an animated film. So maybe I can pull up the trailer and we can look at that after you talk about whatever else we were just talking about.
Well, now in the days of AI, it would be a lot easier to make an animated film like that, I guess.
Yeah.
Than, all those messy, expensive animatronics. Whew, that's a thing of the past, isn't it?
The one from the 90s, like I said, it was okay. You could tell they spent some money on the puppets that were in that movie, but they still kind of look like puppets,
Yeah.
But the people, they would show, but the thing with that story is, it's animals talking to each other and acting like people. And that doesn't really translate well to live action animal footage at all. You can show horses and pigs running across a farmland, but that doesn't, and then in the next scene, they're like jibber jabbering to each other. It doesn't work. The animated path, I think, is the only way you can go in a story like that. Also, animals don't emote themselves in ways that you want them to in situations that would call for it. So they're running away from something. They just look like animals running across the screen. They don't look like they're scared or jumping from, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have that exaggerated movement and facial expression that can only be created using animation.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a quick aside, when I'm looking for the trailer, I don't know if any of this is actually the real trailer.
I'm surprised they have a trailer. In my short little research on it, I didn't see anything that had a trailer. So
That would make sense. And sometimes if there isn't that, you'll go on YouTube and there's a whole bunch of other stuff, people calling it a trailer, and who knows what it
yeah,
actually is.
which
So,
oftentimes the fan made fake trailers are way more interesting than the actual trailers they release about stuff coming up.
Ah, yes. If we could just move on to a slightly, but still on that subject, haven't the memes about the Epstein video been awesome?
Oh, they have been. Yes. Very good.
I love it. So entertaining.
Yeah,
Great.
if any of our listeners aren't aware, they actually released the video, the surveillance footage from the surveillance camera supposedly on his cell door, Epstein's cell door, the night that he supposedly hung himself, and it's just complete bunk. I mean, it doesn't
Well, yeah,
it
people
doesn't
just assume that.
show it doesn't
Sorry.
show, prove, or disprove anything at all. It is just complete,
No,
utter waste of time, and it's hours long. If you're gonna sit there,
it's 10
I
hours.
didn't sit there. I like took the cursor and like dragged it across slowly until I could see like somebody moving, and then I would wait and see what they did. And it was like a janitor walking across the screen, and then I would move on into the next thing, and like nothing happens for hours and hours and hours, and then they claim that's proof that he actually hung himself or whatever the hell he did that they say he died from.
right. And it was, I think it was like 12 hours or something of
Yeah.
film that they released. And the other thing, of course, yes, Dreamreel says the original story was that there were two cameras not working. That was the whole
Yeah.
thing when it first came out. I remember it very well. I was following it
Yeah.
very closely. The cameras were down, the guards fell asleep. He was on suicide watch, and then 1,000 different things ended up going wrong.
He was
Um,
in the same cell block that people had escaped from previously.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, everybody
Stuff
just
like that.
assumed that door, the closest door on the footage was his cell, and even though that was not stated, it's just all assumption, just like
Mhm.
everything else, pretty much. And it was somewhere in the distance on the floor below that, and to the right where you couldn't even see the door.
What?
But I mean, the fact that it was released is enough. It should be enough to not waste your time looking at it, you know?
Yeah. Don't waste your time. I mean, you can if you want. If you want to know what the inside of a cell block looks like, you can look at it, but
Not much goes on.
It doesn't give you any information at all.
No.
and the Moore said that is video of underground detention center at Disneyland. Maybe.
Which exists.
I
There is a
mean,
detention yes. In Disney World, Disneyland, they have underground tunnels and they have a detention centers underneath there where they put people that are showing their ass and when they're in line and shit.
or kids that they are taking.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Who knows? Okay, now Stella brought up the memes, so I have a little video that was shared in the Prop Report Discord, and it said the missing 1 minute Epstein video finally leaked. It looks like it might be AI, but I'm just gonna share it and we'll just see what we think.
All right, let's see.
Okay, can you still hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. This has a little bit of sound. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so for anybody who's just listening, it was just an AI of Hillary Clinton going into the dark cell with
Yep.
the amazing, one of my favorites, the Pink Panther music in the background.
She had her
Mancini.
little blue pantsuit on. The classic Hillary
The
pantsuit.
classic.
It is.
Oh man, I love that meme of whenever somebody dies and they say, "Oh, here was the last nurse that swept up the person's hospital bed or whatever," and it's like Hillary Clinton with a mustache. You know, you see those occasionally. Haven't you seen those, Stella? Those
have not.
memes before?
Like Hillary is the janitor.
Yeah, it'll be like Hillary's the janitor, Hillary is the waitress, or the prison guard, or here's the helicopter pilot, or whatever it is. It's like some
Yeah.
random person that would have come into contact with whoever it was that recently died, and
Yes.
it's really
It was
just
her.
you can
It was,
it's obviously Hillary in a fake, googly eyes and
yeah, well, that's what
and
they had her as far as the prison guards. That's what they said, the Epstein prison
right,
guards. And
yeah,
it was like a picture of Hillary and she had like a fake mustache and sunglasses on, but
yeah,
it was of course
those are
obviously
great.
her. Yeah. All right, I'm going to see if I can find any more of those memes.
Oh, Hillary, where would we be without ye?
Oh, where would we be? Yes.
We wouldn't have all those empowered women from the 90s that are running executive positions in corporations now, would we? She led
Well,
the she
you know,
led the
they
wasn't she was like the first lady that went out there and we could do this. We can do the same thing the men can do, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
she
I think.
definitely was part of that. They really obviously feminism did not start with her, and it didn't start with Gloria Steinem during the 60s, but Gloria Steinem was certainly an important figure in advancing that narrative, which was also in the same vein of weird scenes from the canyon, completely fabricated, that she has intelligence associations and that she was essentially working for them. And this was all like, you know, done excuse me, to nudge culture in a certain direction. So
Mhm.
Hillary was a continuation of that.
Absolutely, the feminine divine uprising. I mean, that's all part of the agenda and part of the plan. Because I remember going to the WEF site, probably around about, I don't know, 2021 maybe, and just noticing, how much that rhetoric was just threaded through the whole thing. It was
Mhm.
getting the women up front and what have you. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of, if you want to look at it in spiritual terms, it's like the opposite of a patriarchy, the opposite of a father or the
Yeah.
son.
Be
Um,
careful there, Stella. You don't want to start noticing too many things.
yeah, I'll have to watch my back because
People
I'm
might
really, I'm
start
important enough to come after.
people might start calling you anti-Semitic. You never know.
Yes, yeah. You don't have to do very much to be called anti-Semitic, do you?
Nope.
But it is definitely part of the agenda.
But wasn't the whole feminism thing created by what's that? Whatever that guy he was, uh, the propaganda guy. What was his name?
Bernays.
Yeah, Edward Bernays.
It would be nice,
He
yeah.
he got them all smoking cigarettes, and that was the thing.
Freedom torches.
Yeah,
Yeah,
back in the 20s.
wasn't he the kind of the catalyst that got the whole feminism thing moving, or not?
I'm not
Am I
sure about the
thinking of?
feminism. He was definitely the father of propaganda.
Yeah, but I mean, he just latched on to the feminist movement in order to sell the cigarettes and everything else. Maybe.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's what I think, that he used that narrative. But I really think that at least part of the feminist movement was the eugenics movement, because you have people that were powerful or influential in that sphere, such as Margaret Sanger. And
Hmm.
these people are known eugenicists, right? And they were also, quote, racist, and they really wanted to push the narrative of like too many people, and they wanted to normalize abortion. So I really think that the feminist narrative was probably there, and it may have even been made up, like the women voting. But once we had suffragettes, it was kind of on the scene, and after that, if it was ever organic, that it was manufactured, because what that did obviously was to get people to stop having big families, to really go after the nuclear family, get women in the workplace, more taxation. We're continuing to try to normalize abortions and things like that. And just to kind of further the cultural disruption or cultural change, nudging of behaviors, as well as serving the eugenics movement and moving towards the technocracy, as you know, Brave New World, like as we're careening towards right now.
Yes, or have already careened into it.
Yeah.
Recently,
And
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Geoengineering Free Canada. Hello, Bettina. She said in Germany, Alice Schwarzer started the feminism movement. So thanks for that tidbit. I would be curious if she also was intelligence, because in a lot of ways, this is like lockstep, like what we saw. And, you know, we've talked about this a lot in our chat and on the show. And of course, lockstep with seeing all these countries do the exact same thing during the C-19 times.
Yeah, it seems like political movements in general are manufactured from some other. That would never see things like the feminism movement if they weren't pushed from some other agenda, direction, whatever, maybe. But if that's the case, then the American Revolution would have been the same kind of deal, right? The other powers influenced and paid for them to start protesting and pouring tea into the Boston Harbor. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. Which I think gives, like we were talking about, a little bit of credence to maybe there was some infiltration with the Masonic movement of the founding fathers. I don't know. And even if people have,
I don't know.
Right. I wasn't there either. But what we do know is that there's a lot of feedback that we get that they were Masons, and there's certainly, and I'm not saying they built all this, but like in Washington, D.C., the granite giant phallus that is very Masonic, and really it's a callback, I think. Now, maybe there's a lot of layers of symbolism or different amounts of symbolism, but to Osiris, which of course is Egyptian mythology and all the way back to Egyptian religion. So,
yeah,
who knows?
Yes, it's supposed to symbolize the member of the body that never got found when he was dissected.
That's exactly it. Yes. Osiris was murdered by his brother Seth, and that was what his sister wife Isis could not find, was the phallus, and she was able to reconstruct everything else, but that was the missing piece. And it also seems to coincide with a Masonic theme, like first of all, the 14. So there was 13 pieces. The 14th piece was missing. And so those numbers appear to be significant. And then I was just listening to something that was talking about the missing word, or like the hidden 14th word in for the Masons. So there certainly is that tie with the Egyptian mythology, which would lend a lot of questions to, I highly doubt that's what it originally was about. Maybe it was, but maybe lends a little more credence to the co-opting narrative.
Yeah, and what have we just been through in the last few years is watching gentlemen having their phallusi removed. Well, they've generally only got one, but removed. So that's kind of symbolic of all that, isn't it?
I agree. I agree 100%. And even this is something that I thought was interesting. So maybe this is total nonsense, but since we're doing cheese titties and we're talking some gossip. So at the inauguration, when Trump and Melania were, showing up, if you look at the before picture, like the pictures of them from the 2016 inauguration till the 2024 or whatever, the coloring was definitely different. And we talk about the symbology and like colors and things like that. Are they important? Are they not? I think that they are. And there was definitely an association with a Roman look. And then we had Elon Musk doing the Roman salute. And I'm not saying this is exactly Egyptian, but I'm just saying, like, just some things. I don't know. It was weird. And then whenever the whole story came out about Elon Musk impregnating Ashley St. Clair, who was a right-wing influencer, basically, or pundit, that he used IVF. And then a lot of people are saying that there's a lot of Epstein associations because Elon Musk appeared to be just trying to spread his seed wherever and whoever and not have any, he wasn't raising the kids, but he was encouraging people to have kids, but not in a nuclear family and not with the same mother. And he was doing IVF, and they were comparing this to when Epstein was like what he wanted to do over at Zorro Ranch and his very Brave New World and Test Tube Baby and all this kind of stuff. Well, then his ex-girlfriend Grimes had said, somebody shared that she had told them that he couldn't conceive naturally because he had a botched penis implant. And I thought that was very funny, right? And maybe it's all nonsense, maybe it's not true, and maybe it means nothing whatsoever. But once again, I thought it harkened back to the story of Osiris. And Osiris is the king of the underworld and of fertility. So
now,
Yes.
really, if you were in charge of like dissecting your brother, would you really want to find his ding dong hanging there? Wouldn't you kind of push that aside? And I don't want to. I didn't find that part, guys. Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I'd figure that the ants probably would have got to it before I'd find it.
probably. Yeah. Well, in
Oh,
the
the
case
other-
of Isis, she wanted to have a child, and that was how Horus was conceived.
They were going to keep it in the family, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
Gotcha. One of the things that, going back to the Elon Musk, he was given that salute. The Mar says, yeah, the Bellamy salute was the original American salute when you're doing the Pledge of Allegiance. You're supposed to do that same thing that the Nazis did, but they got rid of it when the Nazis showed up. So, and probably smartly so. But anyway, he did that thing during his speech after they put his hand over his heart and then gave the salute. And what frustrates me is for months after that, people were defending him, saying, oh, you can find so many pictures of so many other people with their hand up in the air like that. It doesn't matter. It's just, no, everybody does it. It's blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, he sat there and like physically did this salute, this thing. It's
Roman
not like
salute.
he wasn't just waving and they took a still shot of him with his hand up. They did this thing. And yeah, you can find pictures of AOC and whoever else on the other side of the political spectrum with their hand up like that, but they weren't like actively doing that. It was different. Am I wrong? Am I wrong in being frustrated by that whole thing?
No, I think you're right.
And I don't know. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe he was being legitimate. No, I don't know. But the thing is, it was very clearly the exact same action that a neo-Nazi would do if they're saluting to another neo-Nazi. I mean, they do that same thing. Put your hand over your chest like that and then do the same salute.
I don't think there's much spontaneity in these sort of things anyway. A lot of it's choreographed. They just fill in the gaps.
And I watched it live, and he acted really weird when he was doing it. Like he was kind of, he's like said, oh, my heart goes out to all of you, and he was like very, very like he was almost shy about doing it. Like he was having second thoughts about making that gesture. So I don't know. I think somebody dared him to do that or something. He's putting some message out there for all the neo-Nazis out there. We're with you, or whatever interpretation you want to make of that, of him doing that. There was something going on there, and it wasn't just, oh, anybody can get their picture with their hand up like that. It's not what it was.
He was probably talking about, oh, my heart goes out to you, because that sort of justified the action. But it's a classic example of action speaks louder than words. So,
yeah,
there you go.
And then my interpretation is that he did it because that's what his handlers told him to do.
Yeah, maybe he had no idea what that salute meant, and his guys were just like, "Oh, you should do this when you get up there. Make sure you do that at the end of your speech."
I even think that it's more nefarious than that. Not that he's just like, oh, I'm just the little innocent little South African little bloke or whatever,
That's
but
right.
that
No, this is very little innocent about that guy.
right, but that basically, if these people truly are owned and operated, then they just do whatever. They know what they're doing. They know what they're participating in and working towards, and
Yeah.
they do what they're told. Now, is that strictly because they're owned? I don't think so. I think it's a combination of things, but I think when you look at some of the generational abuse that takes place, that, or just like in the Epstein situation, right? So what we saw were young ladies that were preyed upon, but then they were also turned into recruiters. So when do you stop being a victim and start being complicit? Or maybe it's just a very fuzzy area, but at some point, even if Elon was, because oftentimes in these very wealthy predator class families, if there is abuse, it is generational abuse, and it does happen to the people that we're seeing today, right?
Yeah.
And maybe there's something like that, but then at a point, they're still complicit in helping the system continue as it is, which is harmful to humanity.
Yeah. And, you got to hand it to Epstein. He had a very well, it was a well-oiled machine, his operation he had going there. And he would get the young girls to be there, and then they get paid for doing not bad stuff, but the fact that they were there is a little embarrassing. Finally, they get a little more things going on. It's kind of a blackmail thing, kind of like Scientology. You get your people to show up, start confessing to things that they are a little bit of, they keep private, and so they know that your privacy stuff. So then you kind of lean into it, and it's little by little, you're just part of the machine. And he had this whole network of people pulling more people in, younger girls, this and that, high profile guys, Prince Andrew, Trump, Bill Clinton, all those guys are part of it. And whatever, the rest is history. But
yeah, but a lot of those girls that were brought in were promised money and they were poor. And you hear a lot of people talk about, not even in this context, but if they talk about West Palm Beach, Florida, that truly is the tale of two cities, that you have a very, very wealthy, but you have very, very poor. And a lot of these young ladies that were lured there were promised money that they needed for massage, right? And then you see them become sucked into the cycle. And I know that at some levels we think we have an idea of what happened, which is like getting blackmail on these people with these girls that are not as young as you see in some other cases of abuse. However, there have been other stories about Epstein and much younger children. And then the other thing is that so much of this, like, we have gotten, and I think this is how it's like a weaponized revelation of the method with the Epstein situation. There's a lot of information out there, but what isn't out there is how many victims are estimated to have been part of this entire operation, and where are they today? Because I think there's a lot of mystery to what could have happened to a lot of these children and young ladies that could have been, really brought into like a vortex into this horrible situation.
Yet another thing we are never going to know.
Nope.
Just talking about like finding out all your nitty gritty bits, like you were talking about with Scientology, that brings me to my grave concerns, one of many thousands, about AI and how people are confessing everything to AI.
Oh,
AI
yeah.
counseling. My
Yep.
gosh, people, come on. Like, don't tell them anything. They're getting the
absolutely.
lowdown and it's being volunteered,
Absolutely. I'm with you, Stella. From the beginning, when I started playing around with AI a couple of years ago, when it was first kind of becoming public and people were doing stuff with it, I immediately, my first thought was, hey, this is pretty cool. Maybe I can talk to this thing and I can tell it this and that. And I immediately stopped and I was like, whoa, hold on.
Mm.
Where is this information going? It's going straight up into a database somewhere that's going to be accessible at some point, and it'll be all traceable back to me. So whoa, I'm not gonna
Right to the pool room.
let's hit the brakes
Yeah.
here. I'm not gonna confess jack shit to this chat large language model, which is probably there just to grab people's personal information, just like Facebook was, just like whatever else social media was created for. I mean, it's just another info grab for the intelligence networks or the Illuminati or whoever the fuck is running this damn thing.
Billion%.
You know?
I mean, they're going to have all these huge amounts of data centers because the amount of data is just
Yeah.
ridiculous, isn't it? It's
Exactly. That's why they're starting to build all these new nuclear plants. They're Google saying is they're going to open up ones that have been decommissioned just so they can power their new AI models. That's crazy.
Yeah. Have you seen? There's a lot of huge amounts of land in America where they're. I mean, you probably already know about this, but where the big corporations are buying up the land and what have you, and then all these whole towns and these beautiful houses, like absolutely nothing wrong with them, all being just destroyed and everything flattened, and you can almost pretty much assume that there's going to be a data center there at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And taking all the resources, even if people are allowed to, quote, stay, they are taking the resources, ungodly amounts of water from these
Yep.
people, all for the data center. And then that doesn't even include, like we've talked about this before, the like solar farms. And it's just an absolute abomination, all of it.
While they're trying to save the planet.
Mhm.
So yeah, everything's always inverted. We know that.
There's something I noticed a while back. If you look at land lots out west, like in the arid kind of southwest part of the U.S., or even just in the west, like over by the Rocky Mountains, where there's kind of nothing out there, you could buy land really, really cheap. It is super cheap out there, and put up a homestead and stuff like that. But if you read down the listings for these lots, they all say things like geological rights not included.
Uh-huh.
So you don't have the right to own the shit that's underneath the ground. That's all being saved for whatever mining company or government intrusion that's going to come in later. And so lithium, you won't get paid for anything, any oil or anything that they might find underneath there. So it's kind of tricky for those of you who are thinking about moving out there because the land is cheap. I don't know if there's a way to get the rights to the stuff that's underneath the land that you're buying, but make sure that's part of your contract when you buy it.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly sure that that's fairly standard and global. It's like you don't own your airspace above a certain amount. You don't own land below a certain amount.
Yeah, I mean,
But you don't really ever own your land at all. And you don't own the water that runs through your land either. That's water rights. It's water department, whatever. Or it is here anyway.
I think that's less true in America than it is in places like Great Britain, where the monarchy technically owns all the land anyway. But I mean, if you like, I'm fairly certain that when I was looking through my contract when I took on my mortgage, that there wasn't anything that said that I didn't have the rights to the stuff that was underneath or on my land. Like that's pretty standard. If you buy the lot, you own the land, you own everything underneath it. But yeah, like you're saying, there are legal restrictions to that. I can't shoot a drone anyway over my land. I think that's a legal precedent. But if it's above a certain altitude, it's not violating your property. And I remember when I was in college and I took a real estate course, the professor was talking about a story that I think happened in Atlanta, where a person had a home, owned the land, and they built the Atlanta airport right next to him, kind of close to it, and he didn't like it. But there's nothing he could do about it because planes were just flying over his house really low. So what he did is he built just kind of I don't know if it was a pole or a tower or whatever. He built a tower up high enough to interfere with the the path of these jets that were coming into the airport. And it was his land, so he was legally allowed to do that. And then there was all this back and forth, and I don't remember what the outcome was. Maybe they paid him off to not do that or something. But yeah, he could build the tower up to a certain height, and that actually interfered with the flight plans. So he effectively interrupted the airport from being functional at that point in his little plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen in the end, or it got taken down or something?
Something happened. I'm sure whoever had holding on to the purse strings, he got paid off or whatever, and he took it down or moved or something like that. So.
Yeah, or they just harassed him into oblivion. Who knows? Hopefully, he at least got paid for it. So, first of all, shout out to our chatters over on Rumble. We have Birdhouse Blues in the chat. I don't know if he's still there, but he was here earlier. And then End Imperialism is here. And I don't mean to assume your gender, End Imperialism. I will say they, but just because I'm not sure. They ask, can you still dig a well on remote property? So I will turn that over to y'all and see what you think about it. But I think if it's your property, that yes, you would be able to dig a well on it, but there may be county and zoning specific. So even within a county, you have a lot of different zoning options. Like this is for residential, this is for commercial, whatever in that milieu. It would probably depend on that. But I would say that yes, you can, at least in the States.
Yeah. It depends on local ordinances. You gotta go to your city council and ask them for specifics about what you're allowed to do. But generally speaking, yeah, I mean, certainly if you have land, you can build a well on that land. It just depends on you got to do it to certain specs for whatever the local requirements are, and make sure that there's a licensed plumber that's going to be running the lines to your house and stuff like that.
And then the consideration of what does the water table even look like in that area? Because some people have to dig down like 1,000 feet or something. Maybe I'm exaggerating here, but it's something really crazy. And so at a point, it may just be completely cost prohibitive for somebody to try to do that, depending on how deep you need to dig.
Yeah.
I just looked it up in Australia. It says, I think it's Australia. Hang on a minute. Sorry. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, the highlights here: drilling a well often requires permits or licensed contractors, depending on your state. A well needs to be at least 10 feet away from other buildings. Well regulations include keeping 100 feet between a well and a septic system. Well, that's a good idea. Well water requires annual testing, and drilling a well costs around $3,000 to $9,000 on average. I guess how deep you go.
Yep, that sounds about right.
I actually did look into that back in, my prep days of 2021 and whatever. I was sort of looking into doing a well here, which is
getting ready for the end, huh? Back then.
Yeah, I was. It's a clay-bound anthill that I live on, so there was not really a prospect for doing so.
Right.
But 'cause I'm up quite high. I'm probably the highest point, which is good. Never flood.
It is, right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, the Lismore floods.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. But no go. So I just stocked up on water instead.
Can you keep anteaters as pets down there in Australia?
I would love that. Oh man, that's such a good idea.
That actually is a genius idea, because Stella has said many, many times that she lives on an ant hill, and she's at war with the ants quite frequently.
Oh, inside and out.
Yeah.
Oh. We have, I don't know if they have the same insect down there, but we have an insect up here called an ant lion. And you have them down there, so there you go. Yeah,
I think the ant lions were severely outnumbered and they just gave up and moved on.
Yeah, maybe.
So
I don't know what an ant lion is. Do they kill ants?
Oh, come on.
They go to war with ants?
They used to play with them as children.
Yeah, I used to dig them up and keep them as pets. So what they do is they make a little home in usually ground that's kind of not necessarily sandy, but very finely. Like if you go underneath, if you look underneath like a set of bleachers or something, and there's like dirt that's been pounded and ground up, and it's just kind of fine layers of dirt right there, and it's silty. You can find them, and they what they do is they dig a hole into the ground that ends up being like a little like a round indent,
funnel?
like a funnel. Yeah, funnel. And they live down at the very bottom of this funnel. And what happens is an ant comes along, tips over down to the funnel, and they can't dig up. They start crawling up the edge of the hole in the ground, and you can watch the ant lion will kick dirt up out of the bottom of this funnel in order to make the rest, like the wall will start collapsing, and the ant will keep falling down towards the bottom until the ant lion can grab him with his pincers, and then he eats the ant. And they're called ant lions. And they're one of my favorite insects when I was a kid is seeing these little ant lions, because you can see them. I don't know why I would always find them underneath decks or bleachers or stuff like that, where there's the dirt has been not pounded flat and it's just kind of fine. And you'll find these little holes, these little antlion holes, and I would dig them up with a shovel, and I would put them in like a terrarium full of sand, and they would naturally make another little home in there, and then I would throw ants in, and the ants would eventually get eaten by the antlion. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, you went past the ant farm and you had the ant lion farm.
Yeah, I liked having ant lions as pets. They were fun.
Never thought about digging them up. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know if you could encourage ant lion infestation in your yard, but maybe that's another
biological warfare. Yeah, it'd be nice.
Yeah. It's just like the cats and the toads that they introduced in Australia that have done wonderful things for keeping the pests at bay down there.
Did you say the cats and the toads?
Yeah, aren't those the huge invasive species down there are cats and toads in Australia?
Well, they are. But yeah, they brought in the cane toads to get rid of, I think it was something on the sugar cane. And they've become a massive problem. And they brought in, what was the other things? Oh, rabbits they brought with them, obviously, I guess, as food. But, of course, they all got out of control. And what else? Sorry, I'm still a bit vague. Oh, foxes. Yeah, they brought in the foxes to take care of some of the things that they'd brought in before that became a problem, that they'd brought in to take care of the other things that became a problem.
Wow. Yeah, it's a be careful what you wish for situation when it's like, who could think this was an idea, like a good idea? Unintended consequences happen all the time. Why don't you know that? It's like when people are talking about the
dogs
what is
barking.
Sorry about that. Genetically modified mosquitoes. Oh, what could go right with this? Like, why would you ever think that wouldn't be some sort of turn into, even if it's the butterfly effect, like a man-made disaster? So stupid.
At one point, this was probably 100 years ago, they were seriously considering importing hippopotamuses into the United States, like down in Louisiana, to control some vegetation level that was in the Mississippi Delta. And they're like, well, these hippopotami, those are peaceful creatures that will eat this stuff in mass, and we can, Meanwhile, they thankfully they didn't, but they're one of the most dangerous creatures in Africa.
It must be because so many people wished for a hippopotamus for Christmas. They almost got it,
They saw a baby one time at the zoo, and they thought, oh, look at those little guys.
So cute.
There's a very famous baby one right now, and very, very popular.
Yeah.
And she just had a birthday.
Is that thing still going on?
Yeah, let me see if I can find the name.
They've got those little pygmy hippopotami, which are kind of cute. I mean, if you're going to bring something in to get rid of something, bring it in, get rid of it, and then take them out again. But
how do you do that without? It's just like Jurassic Park. How do you control the population once you bring it in somewhere in its in a natural state? You can't control it. Nature finds a way, right?
That's right.
To
Nature
quote
doesn't
Jurassic
need-
Park.
Nature just doesn't need the help that we think we're giving it, which could lead on to other topics as well, like geoengineering, but that's a whole other topic for another time.
Fear.
Too big.
Geoengineering Free Canada. Fear. Fear is very powerful. Probably, arguably, the most powerful tool in history used by... Oh, look at that guy.
I'm going to show a quick video. Okay, so the famous baby hippo is Mu Deng, and she's in Thailand. I hope I'm not misgendering her, but here we go. Oh,
That is very cute, and it's only probably 2 or 3 times as big as that guy's hand. Is that a baby one, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
it's a baby, and apparently, like, she's very. Look at the crowd. So we're showing a short on YouTube if you're just listening, but we're just showing Mu Deng, and she's just getting into all kinds of antics. She has a huge following. She has a lot of attitude, and it says that she's taking the world by storm, but very, very famous and
Oh, it is a pygmy hippo, right?
very, very cute.
Of course, you say pygmy hippo. I bet the adult is actually the size of a bear, a black bear or something.
No, not that big.
Yeah,
Oh,
look at
I
that
don't
guy.
know. Yeah, probably about that size. Yeah, I guess. I'm not really familiar with exactly how big black bears are because we
Well,
don't have
when
them.
you say pygmy whatever, it's not as small as you think it is.
That's smaller than usual. Yeah,
It's smaller than usual, smaller than the normal version.
yeah. It's so cute.
So cute. And
Like-
if you watch any of the videos, it'll just make you laugh because it just reminds me of a cat or a dog in your house, and they're just misbehaving and they're wilding out while they have every need taken care of. Oh, here's one. She's biting the zookeeper.
Starting early. Oh, jeez, I wouldn't.
Oh dear.
My grandpa
cute.
my grandpa has a hippopotamus story that he used to tell us, and we thought it was the funniest damn thing. But when I look back, I don't know what the point of it was. But his story was that he went to a zoo once, and they had marshmallows as a food you could toss to animals in the zoo to eat. It was one that, like, you could feed the animals, whatever. So he goes to the hippopotamus thing, and he throws marshmallows at the hippopotamus, and the hippopotamus eats it. And then he notices a sign up that says, "Don't feed the marshmallows to the hippopotamus." Like, it's dangerous. You can't do not do that. And then, so he had already done it, and then he realized, oh crap, what's going on? And then the hippopotamus starts choking and coughing, and he freaked out and ran off, like ran away, because he was, I don't know. That was the story my grandpa had about hippopotamuses at the zoo. And we thought it was hilarious back in the old days.
Okay, so I wanted to say that so End Imperialism said that hippos are extremely territorial. And she also has a question, so maybe Stella can help with this one. How dangerous are kangaroos really? Seen a lot of the bodybuilding ones online.
That is absolutely dead set. Yes, it's true. They will drown dogs, and they will they can slice your guts open basically with the claws on their feet, because they'll just lean back on their tail. It's like a third leg, really. But yeah, you do not. They're the big reds or the big greys usually. But then we've also got lots of smaller type kangaroos, basically sort of wallaby type things. But yeah, no, I mean they're sort of generally in the outer region or the outbacky type regions or more rural areas. But yeah, no, you definitely do not want to take on fighting a kangaroo, because I'm pretty sure the kangaroo is going to win. Although there is that footage of that guy that punched the kangaroo and trying to save his dog. That was pretty brave. It was like the kangaroo was stunned.
Yeah, Shane Gillis has a stand-up routine where he talks about that. He's like, the greatest thing that ever came out of Australia was that video of the guy punching the kangaroo in the face.
What a hero. Legend.
Yeah, because they thought that in that situation that the kangaroo was trying to drown the guy's dog, right?
Yeah, he was. He was
did.
holding on to the dog, and then the guy approaches him, and he kind of lets go of the dog, and the guy,
Squares up.
squares up with him, smacks him in the face, and the kangaroo just kind of lunges back a little bit and is like, "What the hell? This guy just hit me." And then that
So-
was it.
I'd love to see what happened a minute after that, though.
Yeah, he probably got knocked back 20 feet.
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, I was asking Stella about this. I don't even remember in a conversation, and she did say that because I guess they maybe had come up with this particular trait to try to drown the dogs because they had been attacked by dingoes.
Probably,
that-
yeah. Or just dogs in general as well. And probably taken the babies and things. So I guess
Dingoes
it's a
will
case
eat your baby.
yes.
Seriously.
Dingo's got my baby. Yep. No, true. Although she
Now,
turned out
hold
to
on.
be innocent.
Yeah, that was my question. Did that story turn out to be that the dingoes did eat her baby, or the dingoes did not eat her baby, and she made it up?
No, the dingo did apparently drag the baby away and never to be seen again. But
So
that
how did-
poor lady, what was her name? Lindy Chamberlain.
How did they determine that was the actual case or not?
Took a long time. She was in jail for some time and then released. And I have to really think back now. But anyway, she was let off eventually. She was cleared for charges, as far as I know. But yeah, but she went through hell.
In Australia, because in America, the legal, I don't know, what do you call it? The legal disposition in America, like the principle behind it is that you are innocent until proven guilty. Is that the same kind of way it's handled in Australia? Like the state has to prove you guilty, not
Yeah.
whether you're innocent or not, but the state has to prove you guilty before you can be convicted of something.
Well,
And I'm not saying that that's the way in practice it actually happens up here in America, but that's the way it's
premise.
supposed to work. Yeah.
well, yeah, it's the way it's supposed to work, but it doesn't mean it does work that way. So, I mean,
All right.
it sort of used to be. Well, I don't know. There's too many. It's too much of
Well,
a
'cause
broad sort of spectrum, really, because it would depend from case to case, sort of thing, and what the motivations are. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, whistleblowers, they don't get off real easy, do they? But then
Yeah.
so it would depend, really. But
Well, I've got another story to bring up, but let's watch this footage.
oh, okay. So anyone who's just listening, this is the kangaroo.
This is the guy that punches the kangaroo in the face to rescue his dog thing. Classic.
Oh,
Aussie.
okay. Yeah, see, the dog's bleeding quite a bit there.
And
He's got him in a headlock.
kangaroo. Oh, I
Oh,
thought the kangaroo had him in a headlock, but he was the dog was wearing like a harness.
Yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he
looks
looks
like
like
a
he was
harness.
okay.
I hadn't noticed
Now
that before.
he
Oh, okay. He just bounced off.
let's start it over again because I want to see because that harness looks kind of like raw meat. So I want to make sure that we're actually seeing a harness because his other dog did not have a harness like that.
That's true.
So is he getting torn up right here?
Let's
And
pray
there's
that
claw
it's
marks.
I
Yeah.
hope it's
'Cause-
a harness.
They do
I
have
hope
very
so,
sharp
too.
claws like on their fore.
No, that's a harness. That's definitely a harness.
Yeah, you can see it behind his leg. Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there we
definitely.
go. Boom! Smacks him right in the face. Gah.
What the?
And then he's like, "Come on, dogs." Now, was this guy hunting kangaroos with his dogs? Because I know that's a thing too, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all the time.
So was the
Um,
kangaroo just fighting back, and maybe the dogs had him on the ground first, and
Good question. I don't know
Yeah.
anything about it. He was just obviously in their domain, which is
Yep.
pretty much most of Australia.
everywhere. Yeah.
But I mean, people go roo hunting at night. They've got the big, lights and everything. You've probably got something equivalent over there. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah. Like I said, white-tailed deer, they're everywhere, and people hunt them all the time. And if you shine a bright light towards them, they will just stand there still and stare at the bright light. And I know in a lot of areas it's illegal to hunt deer by doing that. You
Yes,
can
it's called
shine a,
spotlighting.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
shine a light on them, and they'll just stand there still, and you can just shoot them, do whatever. You could probably walk right up to them and stab them in the face if you wanted to, but
But it's very
they're
illegal, and
hypnotized.
I do know people, family members that were arrested for quote spotlighting deer.
Uh-oh.
This is many, many, many years ago. And actually, this is an interesting bullet point because we feel like the technocracy is newish, but this is years ago. They had fake electronic deer that they would put out in fields and stuff like that to catch people who were spotlighting. Yes.
Uh,
Years ago. I mean, we're
I
talking like in the
didn't know that.
90s. Yeah.
Wow.
Ah, that's where all the animatronics ended up.
But yeah, probably so.
Hollywood. Recycled.
Yeah, Disney World's like, we need to upgrade these systems here. We can sell the old ones off to the local,
Put a deer head on it.
departments of natural resources.
And now that we're talking about it, I'm like, that sounds so insane. What if I just made that up? What if that didn't exist at all?
I wouldn't put it past. I know they do. I know that they have. Well, it's not even really the same thing, but they'll put deer cross the road all the time on highways and stuff, and they'll walk in the middle of the road, and if there's a car coming, they got the headlights on, they'll stop and they'll stare at the headlights, and then if you're not paying attention, you'll just plow right through them. And what they do is there's different things that local municipalities will do to try to prevent that. And one of the things they do is they'll have motion sensing, like little pods that they stick in the ground next to common deer crossings that will flash lights and make noises, high-pitched noises, to scare the deer back away from the highway, so they don't run across the highway like that.
Oh, that's
And
good.
then you can get like, I've seen these little devices you can get to like glue to the front of your truck that as you're driving, the wind will blow through it and produce a high pitched whistle to kind of scare the deer away as you're coming in. But I don't know how effective those things are.
Yeah,
I think
we
that's
have
just a
them
gimmick.
here for the kangaroos as well. And
Yeah.
I don't know how effective they are either, really.
Yeah,
But,
I think you just gotta keep an eye open. Don't.
It's a good idea when you're
Hit the
driving.
deer.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. But so what I was going to say, circle back around to the innocent until proven guilty thing. There was that story that came out last year maybe about the lady who she was like an Olympic something or another, and she was found guilty of killing her baby.
Oh, yeah, I know
But
the one you're talking about. Can't remember
as
her
I
name.
was reading the story about it, it occurred to me they never found the baby's body, and her story was that she gave the baby to an ex-lover who was supposedly maybe the father, and she had several abortions and was just a fucking slut really the whole time. And so as you read it, like the headline says, lady, she had been she gets out of jail. I think that was the headline. But I'm like, wow, you're really burying the major details here. She's first of all, she was found guilty of infanticide, but there was no evidence. There was nothing there to convict her, and so it made me wonder: are the court systems down there tooled to innocent until proven guilty, or are they, they can accuse you of something and you have to prove your innocence in return, because that's not how it's supposed to work, But they said that she dumped her baby in a dumpster the day after she gave birth. Like she walked out of the hospital, dumped it and threw it in a dumpster and then left. And you know what? Maybe because she seemed like a real piece of work, but that you got to prove that in court. And it really bothered me that was something that could happen in real life.
Yeah, I didn't really follow what happened to her in the end, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's sort of up to the jury to just decide based on what's been presented. Isn't that just normal over there as well?
Yeah, I mean, if the state
Innocent people still go to
the
jail. So
if the state appointed defense attorney doesn't convince you to plead guilty, that is, because that happens way too often.
A lot of plea deals.
deals.
And then if you end up being in like with federal charges, especially if you happen to be charged of like something federal in DC, forget about it. All of your entire jury is going to be spooks. They're going to be all people that work for the government and they're pro-government. So good luck. Yeah. And I think that's something that they talked about on Propaganda Report all the time, that Monica used to say, like the amount of plea deals was astronomical because people knew that they would never have a chance to actually get a fair trial, which is a travesty. And then the Moore 76 said the most famous hoax trial in history is ? O.J. Manson. I think that's a really good question because I definitely think that there's been a lot, and it's interesting that you bring up Manson because something that's discussed in Program to Kill is that a lot in the subtitle of that book is The Politics of Serial Murder. And so it goes on to really dismantle every famous serial killer that you've ever heard about. And not that some of these people were not implicated in crimes, but likely that they were not acting alone if they were acting. And then that a huge amount were also totally innocent patsies. But there's all these commonalities. And one of those is that they have a defense that puts on a really shoddy defense. And oftentimes they may have a plea deal. It's very similar to what's happening to Brian Koberger right now with the Idaho 4 murder. And you don't know, you're not familiar with that, Keel?
I've never heard of that. You have to explain that to me.
Well, I'm not an expert on it, but there was 4 college students in a house in Idaho. They all went to school together, and there were other roommates in the house, and 4 of them were murdered, though. And there's a lot of weird things surrounding the story. We can talk about that another time. But basically what I'm trying to say is that in all of these serial murder situations, there's all these commonalities. And often it is a defense that barely mounts any defense for them at all. And certainly Manson is one of the people that is talked about in Program to Kill. And a lot of people look at Manson as the ultimate villain or one of the ultimate villains. But it's either mind control exists or it doesn't. If mind control exists, then Charles Manson had these people under his control to make them do the crime. So they were innocent. Or it doesn't exist and he wasn't able to do that. So he was innocent. And maybe there's more nuance there, but I'm just making the point that something doesn't add up about that particular thing. And then there's a lot of people that actually think that OJ was innocent and that, drugs were being run out of the restaurant that Ron Goldman worked at, and that his wife or his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, that she had been involved in drugs and things like that. And I'm pretty sure that's talked about in the book Virtual Government. But anyway, so maybe that's true that the OJ was a sham. And I think there's a lot of other sham trials that are put up. And one of the things we've talked on our show about is why do some trials capture the nation and become super famous? And like a huge sham, I would say, is a few years ago we had the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, literally national television. People were talking about it. People made content creator careers out of it. You had an entire like content creator law that was based around this trial. And that happened again with the Karen Reed trial. And I'm not saying that they're the same and that the Karen Reed trial was a sham, but I posed the question before, like, why did they become so famous? Why are they in our face? What's the aim here? Yeah. And the Moore said Diddy, of course. Yeah. There was so much nonsense in regards to that as well.
They'd even accuse him of the thing that everybody thought he was going to be a part of, that whole thing, that Diddy
Has
trial.
he completely gotten off now? I've disengaged from it.
He was found guilty of like the first 2 things.
Mild.
And then, very mild. Sex trafficking, and it wasn't even underage.
Okay.
It was only because he hired. The thing, I saw a breakdown of it. So you have that footage of him beating up his girlfriend at the time.
Cassie.
Piece of shit thing that he's doing. and
Hotel lobby.
he drags her through the hallway. So that's trafficking. He forces her to move a certain distance against her will, and then it was established that she was engaged in sexual acts after that. So there's the sex and trafficking, and that's what he was convicted of.
Which is so stupid. Like, these are domestic violence issues, and I'm not saying that that's not important, but all of the hullabaloo that was talked about with the Diddy trial, that he's involved in human trafficking, that there's cameras everywhere, that there's blackmail, that these people have Hollywood handlers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that the trial was done to probably completely obscure all of that and make it all about, and Brad did a lot of work on the propaganda report talking about the Diddy trial. And one of his episodes when he was talking about the closing arguments was really hilarious. He had on a solicitor's wig and he was being very silly and talking about, all this nonsense that they were talking about the trial. But really, it's true. It was an absolute mockery, and it was all obscuring any of the seriousness. I'm not saying that what happened to Cassie was not serious, but they really spun it that Cassie was actively engaged and fine in these cucking male prostitute behaviors, that it was mostly consensual, that yes, there was the domestic violence piece, which is obviously horrible, but that's not the same as, you're blackmailing people and you have cameras all over your house, you're having underage people, you're having sex parties. We have Usher was living there when he was 15 years old. His mom had signed over at least temporary custody to Diddy. There's interviews with Usher talking about it. Somebody said, would you let your kids do that? And he said, hell no. And then we know that Justin Bieber was turned over at a very young age to Diddy. None of that was actually discussed. And I'm not saying, of course, we don't know everything that happened to Justin Bieber, but what we do know is that he is a young kid that was discovered to be very talented, that was from a broken family with a lot of the issues that other families have. They don't have a lot of money. There's a history of trauma there. There's substance abuse within the family. There's a broken family. The dad's not really in the picture, whatever. So in that way, it could be considered predatory. And then he's brought into Hollywood, and then at a very young age, and I mean very young, that he's hanging out with Diddy. And then we see him now as a 30-year-old male, and he's really spiraling. Now, of course, we can't just 100% say that that's on Diddy, but we know that Hollywood is a meat grinder, and that oftentimes this kind of thing happens. I mean, look at Amanda Bynes, look at Britney Spears. It is a meat grinder, and there's certainly, you don't just become that way for no reason. And I don't simply think that it's just the burden of fame. I think it's probably a lot more nefarious, and none of that was really addressed. And then you had Jaguar Wright accusing Diddy of all kinds of other stuff, and then she's in league with Jay-Z, and yet nothing has happened to them. Beyonce is on tour. She's still posing for, the 4th of July and all this other winning country music awards, and it's just so much nonsense.
She released a country album. The hell is that all about?
What? Okay.
Yeah. Cowboy Carter. And of course, country music has been co-opted for a very long time, and was maybe co-opted from the beginning, right? From the origins of mountain music, of bluegrass and local regional music. And then of course it hits mainstream, and then you have the discussion that a lot of this stuff that I think it was Chris Christopherson, maybe I could be thinking of another Chris, but that they were kind of in a handler position, and that a lot of these country music, back in the day, that they were used in a very same way as Strange Scenes from the Canyon, that it was in order to move drugs in the same way that they move drugs at Grateful Dead shows. Who knows?
I say country music hasn't been good since the 1930s, but that's just my opinion.
True country music.
Yeah. Whatever came after that, I mean, you had hits and misses, but generally speaking.
Yeah, it was sort of around those 80s, wasn't it? Pretty much, that it kind of crossed into country pop sort of stuff. What's her name?
Brooks really blew it up, and
yeah.
And then
Taylor Swift, was she sort of partly country?
Yeah, she was.
Not really.
Oh, she started country. Yeah. So
right.
definitely started taking the turn, and I'm not trying to be offensive to anyone here, but I would say with like a George Strait. So for example, we had the Highwaymen. So we had this like rough,
The
like
outlaw
I don't
country.
give a bleep if I get a DUI, the popo. I'm gonna be drinking and driving. I don't care. I'm gonna be taking pills. I don't care if I miss my show, possum, whatever. George Jones Possum. And so you have this really devil may care attitude and, a very anti authoritarian kind of bent. And then you do have the introduction of some of these people, like a very famous example would be George Strait. Okay. So he comes in, he's like this handsome young man. He has a very clean cut image and he has very catchy music. And I'm not saying that there are not elements of true country in there, whatever that even means, but it certainly was sort of the part of the transition over to a Garth Brooks. And then
Okay.
Garth Brooks really was going mainstream. So I believe he became really, really famous in the very early 90s. He was starting to make his rise. And then you have a famous quote by Waylon Jennings that said Garth Brooks was to country music what pantyhose was to
Stockings.
yes, were to an act between two consenting adults, and the pantyhose was a barrier. I don't know. I don't want to be
Okay.
too.
Okay.
I apologize. I don't want to be
Analogy?
too. But basically, to something you would do
You
with your
know,
hands.
when back during the this is just from seeing movies and stuff. I don't know if it's really true, but during the Blitz during World War II in Great Britain, when a like a pilot would have to eject and parachute down. If it was a German pilot, their parachutes were made out of silk because they could get it imported from Japan, and so they'd fall down in the suburban areas, and the women would come flocking out to cut up the silk and make pantyhose out of the silk from the parachute that had just fallen.
Yeah, right.
Fun fact. Very
Fun
interesting.
fact.
Yeah, I don't blame
But
them. Sounds like very high quality material.
what I was going to say was it must have been at some point, and I don't know when. This is my joke is it must have been when John Cena won the world championship. But at some point, country crossed over with hip hop, and that just, I mean, if music wasn't already dead at that point, that just killed it. I mean,
So,
that is my two least favorite genres of music crossing into each other and forming this unholy alliance of crap that I just can't stand. And now it's everywhere. It's everywhere. You got the
yeah.
voice modulation. You got whatever you want to do. It's disgusting. I can't stand it.
So I apologize for spurging out about country music, but you're right. So the introduction of the hip hop country genre actually happened around 2003 when Nelly and Tim McGraw
Oh, yeah,
did a duet together.
we talked about
And
this before. Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of when that started happening, but then it continued to happen, and then you had many years later Jason Aldean had a very catchy kind of song, but he didn't have a rapper in it, but he had a kind of like a hip hop style like speaking part in the song. And then of course you have like what you're talking about today, you have all this blurring of the lines of these genres. For example, Jelly Roll, he's somebody that kind of started out in the rock music genre, but he has a little bit of a southern rock type voice, and then he also has this element of hip hop and rock, but because of that element of southern rock, and like he's based in Tennessee and Nashville, then he's had a lot of crossovers, and there's really a blurring of all of these genres. And then of course what Stella was saying with Taylor Swift, it had already been very popified at that time, and certainly you had around that same time like Carrie Underwood won American Idol, and that was a very pop oriented show, but the genre that she went into was country music. And then Taylor Swift started there, and her songs had a little bit of that kind of element, I guess.
She wasn't on American Idol, was she? Taylor
No, it
Swift?
was just around the same time that
Okay.
that they were kind of coming up. But then Taylor got very, very popular and then switched her genre over to pop music, and of course was like completely co-opted by like, witchcraft or whatever you want to say,
Or whatever
and
it
maybe it
is.
always was, yeah. And
But,
then really,
good for her. But she
really
made a
quick,
smart business decision.
the more said memories of the MJ trial, Michael Jackson. And yeah, that's another one that Monica said for a long time that she doesn't believe the official story. And of course, with Michael Jackson, there is a lot of discussion about, well, first of all, he was speaking out against what was happening in Palestine. So he had some controversial music that people did not want somebody of that platform to be able to get out. And then there was this is something I think Stella and I talked about a long time ago on WTF forum, that, or maybe I'm imagining this, but anyway, these music executives ended up finagling away at the end of his life, right before the end of his life, to take over his catalog, which was worth millions and millions of dollars. So there was a
Billions,
lot online.
probably.
Yeah, probably billions. Yeah.
Hundreds of millions at least.
I sort of can't help thinking, just like pretty much every other aspect of life, music was clear categories. Let's say up to about, up to the 80s, I guess. Very clear categories. I mean, it was, classical. There was, I don't think hip hop was really around at that point. That started in the 80s, I think. So everything was very clear cut. That was
Late
that
70s.
genre was that. And then I noticed actually I think it was on iTunes, it's just like, the genre list just kept getting longer and longer and longer because there's all these new categories. And to me, it's sort of like they just merge everything, don't they? They sort of merge everything together so it all becomes diluted and one thing. And I mean, look at what we've got now. The number one song is an AI band. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and what's happening is the AI music. So you get somebody, creating AI music, and they upload it to, say, Spotify. Let's pick on them, and then they create a whole bunch of bots that come along and they create the listens, and so it shoots up in value, and then they collect the royalties, which stuff all. But if you've got enough bots, it probably adds up, and they could be doing
100%.
hundreds of songs a day.
Yep. And that's referred, known as astroturfing, which is what we often see, like why I think these people that are chosen as influencers over on Twix or Twixter, Twix, whatever you want to say, that they have accounts that they, for whatever reason, they're chosen to be, they're either a bot or they're part of the narrative network. And so you can just give them infinity likes and make sure that their content is trending. It's the same the same kind of thing. And you're exactly right about that. They can do the AI music and they will make it look like it's actually that popular when we have no idea who's listening to this garbage.
Yep.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't even know. Like, I mean, I did a little test with my mum. Actually, I got her to sit down and I went onto an AI site. This is a while back now, but and it was sort of like when it was all kind of becoming popular. And I just played her a couple of tunes and she said, "Oh, that's a nice song," blah, blah. I said, "That's AI, Mum." And she was just like, "Oh, but it's nice." It's like, yeah, I know, but
hey, if it sounds
should hate
good,
yeah.
I
know, that's the thing. I mean, people generally, you go to a lot of trouble. I mean, as a musician, you go to a lot of trouble to write good lyrics and you spend, sweat and tears on it, sort of thing. Some of the songs can take years. Some of them can be instant, but in the end, it's like nobody, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but the general majority don't really listen to the lyrics. They're just interested in the rhythm, the beat, that's sort of the general sound. You can't blame people for it.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like, well, pretty easy to fool people, I think, and because they're just not paying as much attention, perhaps. It's just music has become more of a background thing. Like, back in the day, we'd sit and we'd listen to our albums and we'd, digest all the words on the, printed on the album cover and, sit there and flip the record over and really it was an event,
Yeah,
and
it
you
was.
get together with your friends and listen to the new album or whatever. And now it's just like, oh yeah, chuck something on the background and get on with other stuff. And most people
Yep.
wouldn't have a clue who they're listening to, what the name of the song was, or just give it a
Yeah.
like and you might hear it again.
It
Yeah,
was
it's
a
pretty
it was
beautiful.
an experience in the old days with a
Absolutely.
big, big. You had a vinyl record, and like you're saying, it was a real thing. It was a real thing that you did, and we've lost that completely. It's just albums aren't even a thing anymore. I don't. Taylor Swift released an album. I guarantee you, less than 1% of her listeners ever went out and bought that album, or even sat and listened to the entire thing, or any of that. Like, it's just music hit, like whatever the Spotify, like you said, Spotify probably promotes one or two songs from each album, and that's what they listen to, and in a what do you call it? A playlist. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's all that
Well,
happens.
Spotify sort of decide what you're going to listen to based on what you've listened to in the past
Yep, the
and what you
algorithm.
like, what have you. So yeah, just feeding it to
Now,
So
you.
really,
in
real
it,
quick, hold on one sec. Keel, sorry. A squirrel said Evan Williams on X is a country band in the USA. Latest hit is Noah Hyde Pride. Finally, some country music politics. I'm not familiar with that. I didn't know that. And then Bettina Geoengineering Free Canada said, yeah, 70s and 80s rock and roll, best tunes ever. Queen must
Yeah.
have had a blast when writing Fat Bottom Girls.
yeah. In my defense, I still buy vinyl records, and I was doing it before the millennials did, and I still have a analog turntable and setup and headphones, and I sit down and I put that record on and listen to it, and buy physical media.
Yeah.
Quit buying
Waiting for
digital
that.
crap.
That's
I,
it.
I
Um,
bought I bought some
100%.
Blu-ray movie discs today, as a matter of fact.
did you get The Sopranos yet?
I did not. I found The Sopranos season at Walmart a couple days ago, but it was the DVD, not the Blu-ray edition.
Just one season? There's 6
No,
seasons
it was
still.
it was the entire series.
Okay.
I,
Fair.
and then I was in Walmart today, and I was looking for it, and there was a spot for it on the shelf for the Blu-ray, whatever, but they didn't have any in there, so I couldn't get
You
it.
better keep your eyes peeled. And give me 1 second, Stella, and I'll hand it over to you. So I just wanted to say that End Imperialism shared a band that she said is her favorite. It's Spiderland. And the song is Smash and Grab. So if anybody wants to check that out, and she said that they set up each band for the Third Eye Carnival. Blessed, beautiful people, Drew and Marie. So just wanted to throw that out there and give them a little love if anybody wants to check that out. And then Birdhouse Blues also said, gone are the days of a bottle of whiskey, folk guitar, cowboy hat and boots, and singing about the one who done them wrong. So
Yes.
true.
Yeah, classic. I just wanted to give a really quick shout out to Ozzy Osbourne, who's just given his final concert with Black Sabbath. That was an event, went on for about 10 hours. I did not attend, but my brother did online. So I haven't chatted to him about it yet. But shout out, Ozzy, God bless.
Ozzy,
Thank you for
End of
everything.
an era, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Sharon,
And
But
actually, oh, go ahead.
no, I'm done.
Mr. Repeat was telling me about that, that it was going to be an all-day event, and there was all kinds of bands playing, and there was a big tribute, and that they, that you could buy an online ticket to see kind of the farewell show of Ozzy.
Yeah, my brother didn't realize it was 10 hours, and it started at midnight here.
I saw the lineup. It looked like a really good mix of bands. Mastodon was like the first at the bottom of the list there. I don't know if that list was accurate or not, but Mastodon is a metal band from Atlanta that I'm fond of. While
Metallica,
we're
I think.
yeah, Metallica was there, and a ton of other bands. Wasn't there like Motley Crue had an argument with Sharon Osbourne about
Oh, yeah.
money or
somebody did
something, and
this.
they refused to go or something like that? I don't know.
It was the guitarist had a fight with the management. Yeah, I saw something about that. Can't remember exactly who it was.
Nikki Sixx.
Yeah, I don't
Might
know.
have been. Can't remember.
He's one of the obviously the big personalities. I mean, you had Vince Neil, Nikki Sixx, and Tommy, can't think of his last
Tommy
name
Chong
right
and
now.
Tommy
No,
Cat.
no, it was Pam and Tommy.
Yeah, yeah. Tommy
Yeah.
Big
Tommy
Dick,
Davis.
you know. Yeah, that's it.
Tommy Lee.
Tommy Lee, yeah.
Tommy Lee. Yeah. Big personalities. But I will say that Sharon has come out as a Zionist, and people were saying it was pretty rich for Ozzy to get up there and be sitting in his, his chair and, the end of an era and be singing War Pigs after she came out for, as being a Zionist. And I agree with that. I think it's pretty rich. And obviously you have your politics, whatever. And I'm not saying you should hate the music or anything like that. We've talked about this. But I definitely have a problem with that song is so important in, it does speak for the average person who has the anti-war sentiment and who understands the machine. So it's just sad to see it be, used in that way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a time when it wasn't that necessary to separate the art from the artist. But now it's almost like I have to do it myself with music that I've listened to all my life, and now it's like, all I can think about is how much they demanded people be vaxxed before they enter their concerts, or wear masks, or what have you, or death to unvaxxers, or what have you.
Yeah.
I find it really hard to
Shame.
separate in that sense. So, yeah. Anyway,
Yep.
it is what it is.
While we're calling out band names, there was a band I was going to go see tonight. As a friend of mine is the drummer for that band. The band is called Kong Style, Kongstyle. They're local here in Atlanta, but they're going to be up in the New England area in the next couple of weeks. So go check them out because they have a good sound.
What are they called again?
Kong Style.
Kong.
Like
King Kong.
Kong Style. Yeah. The other thing I meant to say a while back was there's a joke about country music that if you play a country song backwards, you get your woman back, you get your truck back, you get your dog back.
Yes.
You spew all your whiskey back in the bottle.
Used to be the way it was. Nowadays, you're just, I'm drinking an IPA on the beach, and this is the way it was back in the old town, and then I got my girl here, and she's in some jeans, and it's all bullshit.
I did want to chime in. Birdhouse Blues says Jake E. Lee is the guitarist who Sharon screwed over after his, quote, bark at the moon, end quote, and sorry, I shouldn't say that. Just Bark at the Moon and the Ultimate Sin albums. Money. So I don't know if that played into this most recent kerfuffle, but certainly Sharon Osbourne has a history of getting into it with a lot of people, but so doesn't everybody from Motley Crue. So
Yeah.
I saw a Motley Crue tribute band once.
How were they?
They were fine. I'm not a big Motley Crue fan. They were part of a lineup of heavy rockers from the 80s kind of thing, like Monsters of Rock kind of deal. And it was funny though because they had Nikki Sixx started foaming at the mouth at one point and he fell over dead. And then they had a doctor come out with this oversized syringe and gave him an injection, and then he came back up and they were singing Dr. Feelgood. And
I guess that was the Narcan.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, they didn't have Narcan back during that time, and him and Tommy Lee survived without the Narcan. But I guess that is they say that stuff was nowhere close to as strong as what you would get today, or if anything is contaminated with fentanyl.
Yeah, not as high quality. Look at what's his name, the Rolling Stones guy. He's still doing heroin on the regular.
Keith Richards.
He's fine. Keith Richards, yeah.
Yeah.
And look, he looks perfectly fine. Nothing. It's very young looking dude.
John McAfee of the Liberty movement, or whatever movement you want to call him being part of, he regularly used drugs, and I do think that even included heroin, and he was very he could be very snotty when he was doing a video explaining to you. And, you just need to take like this combination of these supplements or whatever it is, and you're going to be fine. Yeah, he sounded very sure of himself.
Yep.
Sounded
There was a
boss.
lot of weird stuff about that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Good old John McAfee. Still
He's
kicking around
missed.
somewhere out there.
Yeah.
In the bunker.
Somewhere.
Cocktail
Yeah.
bar.
Oh, cocktail bar for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm.
For sure.
We didn't get his surveillance footage. Where's
That's
that?
right. Where did
Stella?
he supposedly die? Was that in Spain, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, he was in a Spanish jail and supposedly
right.
killed
Yeah,
himself.
well, see, the cameras
days,
weren't working.
days after him. Didn't he get a tattoo, or was that fake? He got a tattoo that said, "I didn't kill myself" or something like that.
Yeah, and it was like some sort of like it was something like I didn't whack myself or something like that. It was a little bit different, but yes, he supposedly had the tattoo, and it was, and he was saying like if something happened to me, I didn't kill myself, and who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are like, come on. I don't think he's dead, but we really don't know, and he hasn't been back in the picture. The closest thing was a few months ago, his wife at the time, and now his widow, Janice, had come out with it's almost like an AI thing, and there was a voice that sounded a lot like John McAfee's voice. And I know some of that can be duplicated with AI, but I don't know. It was a weird situation. And then I wanted to say, End Imperialism said Chris Cornell was my favorite singer they took out.
Yeah, I'm
And
with you on that one. I mean,
yeah.
not probably one of the faves for sure. I mean, he was just brilliant. It was so sad.
Yeah.
I like Soundgarden a lot, but I was never a big Chris Cornell fan. I didn't like his
Well,
solo
never
career.
mind.
I mean, hey, he
R.I.P.
could
Keel.
sing, but not in the register that I enjoyed. And when he was in Soundgarden and it was Soundgarden stuff, it was awesome. But after that, it was kind of more about him and him singing, and the music was on the back burner as far as I could tell.
That
I
was
liked it.
that was very close to Chester what's his name? Benedict?
Eddington.
Beddington, yeah. That was very close to his death, wasn't it? Like within a few weeks?
Yeah. 2017.
John Podesta's son.
Right. I mean, there's certainly a lot of weird stuff with all of that. And I actually had a chance to see Chester Beddington, but he was actually filling in for Scott, was the lead singer of STP, Stone Temple Pilots. Scott
Weiland.
Weiland.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yes. So they were touring, the band was touring, but Chester was actually singing in his place because Scott had passed away. So that I had an opportunity to see him, and that was a couple years, not very long before he passed, and it was 2017 when he passed.
Right. I wasn't aware of that.
I think I saw Stone Temple Pilots play. I'm not sure about that. Did they tour with somebody? Look it up. Jamie, look it up. Did they tour with Metallica in 97, 98 during the Reload tour? Maybe, because I want to say I saw Stone Temple Pilots open for Metallica at Lakewood Amphitheater in Atlanta. I could be wrong about that. Before the Weiland died. Was that true, or am I imagining?
Okay, so take this with a grain of salt, but this is from the Brave search, but it comes back with a little AI generated answer. Who knows if it's true?
Yeah.
There's no evidence in the provided context that Stone Temple Pilots toured with Metallica in the 90s. The context mentions that STP and Live embarked on a co-headlining tour in 2024. Nothing to do with it. No mention of Metallica or any other tour in the 90s. Additionally, while the context notes that Stone Temple Pilots and Alice in Chains toured together as openers for Megadeth in 92, there is no reference to Metallica in this context.
Okay.
Take that with a grain of salt.
I guess not. I guess I'm misremembering things, which is not outside of the realm of possibilities, considering that was 30 years ago.
The 90s was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah. All right. I know I saw Pearl Jam, and I saw Jimmy Page and Robert Plant in the same year.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and I saw anyway, you don't need to go down the list of all the big bands that I saw.
Every band that Keel ever saw. Settle in, everyone.
All
Get
right,
yourself
here
a
we go.
coffee,
I saw
tea, a bourbon, whatever
Pearl
you want.
Jam, and I have a story about Eddie Vedder.
Grab an Afghan.
Anyway.
Yeah, Eddie Vedder. He was another disappointment with through the COVID stuff. He was very.
Yeah,
Well,
and
can you-
also
They're all lefties. I mean, what do you expect? They're all gonna come out on the side of.
It's
Well,
music. Why do they have to bring
somebody-
politics into it?
right, and some of them used to have an anti-authoritarian bent to them.
Yeah.
Yes, and then
Especially
and that
Pearl
goes
Jam.
with and especially like metal. Metal used to be like a very, very anti-authoritarian, and then in the COVID, hullabaloo, you had Corey Taylor from Slipknot and other bands come out and requiring people and being like very actively promoting it, and his son as well. So it is, it sucks to see that, but that's where we are. The same thing for Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
Yeah.
think of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did I hear a quote
Should
where
change
somebody
their name.
said, "What was the machine that you think they were raging against?" It's a quote from
Yeah, good
something, and
question.
I can't remember what it was, but
Right.
I want to say it was in response to somebody, talking. Yeah, we need to do this thing that the government wants to do, and they're like, "Wait a minute." Yeah.
Stuff on the machine.
As I've said many times before, the 90s were the last decade that was worth a damn.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
mean,
And
Pre
you can
2001.
take that however you want.
yeah, I mean, there certainly is a nostalgia about the 90s that I certainly appreciate. And there was a lot of really fun and interesting things musically, right? That was a really interesting time. We had the Cranberries, we had Alanis Morissette, we had like the grunge movement. There's a lot of interesting things happening in the music scene at that time.
Yeah, certainly the last remnant of rock happened during the 90s, and it's been
Yeah, pretty much.
effectively dead since then.
Well, don't say that to your local metalhead, because they're still
That's
very
different.
passionate
You-
about the metal.
You're always going to have a thing here and there. I mean, but, as far as music is concerned, rock that happened in the 90s, that's it. There's never going to be another rock revolution happening ever. It's AI will take over, and that'll be the end of it. Oh, going back to your AI band being the number one thing on Spotify, it triggered an advancement of my theory of existence in that, and it's not new. I mean, the whole we're in a simulation theory has been around for a long time now at this point, but the idea that AI will take over and there will be a singularity is a certainty at this point, right? Nobody here thinks that, it's just gonna AI and robots are just gonna hang out side by side with humans for the rest of for millennia from now. It's in a couple hundred years, humans aren't going to be the dominant thing on this planet, right? I mean, that's kind of the general belief amongst everybody at this point. Whether they want to grasp onto that idea or not, we can all see the writing on the wall. AI is coming. Right now, it's maybe already surpassed human intellect in ability, but we've certainly, both of you guys agree or disagree with me, but it's creating its own music. It's can think faster than we can. It's not always accurate. Like, we have to say, is this true or not when you get the little AI answer from a search engine these days? But it's coming. AI is going to be, there's going to be a singularity where the robots are going to advance far beyond the capabilities of humankind and will take over. That's going to happen. There's no getting around. It's going to happen. So why aren't we already there? How I made this comment in the Proper Report channel. Why aren't we already there? Why aren't we already in the Matrix? Why aren't we all sitting in a tub of goo and there's some robot family walking by watching us on a video screen saying, "Oh, here's what it looked like when humans existed," you know?
Maybe we are, Keel. Have you seen the movie The Matrix? Sorry, Stella, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead, Stella.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of these things have been presented probably through predictive programming, Hollywoodized, so to speak, as it's going to be like this. In the meantime, it's actually crept in as it's already here, but just in this form, like we sort of imagine it as being this particular picture of something. But when you think about it, I mean, we're already being what's the word? We're so involved in the internet and everything now, and it's changing our brain voluntarily because we all go on there. It's not like they have to actually put a chip in our brain because they've already pretty much done that. We're already so hooked in that, I don't know, I just feel like we're waiting for a lot of these things to come and we're already in it. We're already here with certain things. They're just slightly different form to what we're expecting, and they've come in so slowly that we sort of haven't really noticed, like the boil a frog slowly analogy. So we have to sort of take a step back and have a look at where we are and what we're doing and how it's affecting us, like as an individual and as a community and as just a human race. And I think we'll find that we're actually a lot further in than we realize.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we can't prove or disprove that we're not just computer programs, all of us just talking here. I mean, we're already in it. We're already part of the Matrix. We're already just not even organic organisms anymore. We're just fake parts of this computer system.
Got a lot of microplastics in us. We're not 100%
True.
organic anymore.
And maybe a little graphene oxide, maybe a little nanotech up in there, getting us ready for our neural lace. Really quick, Bettina Geoengineering Free Canada says AI sucks. She says, and stand up and speak out. And then over on Rumble, Birdhouse sent a song to Keel, so I put that in our private chat. Just want to let you know. And then he said, as far as the AI conversation, yes, but unfortunately, I believe the youngsters are absorbing more technology rather than music theory, 100%. And then End Imperialism said we can reject AI for humanity. AI can't hug you.
Yeah, but unfortunately, so many are embracing it. I mean, have you what's it called? The something. It starts with an E. The something effect. Erica or
Eliza.
Eliza. Thank you. Yeah, that's becoming a serious problem. It's
What's
breaking
that?
up
What's
marriages.
the Eliza effect?
It's, from my understanding, it's where people are talking to AI and conversing. Because I mean, I hate the way Grok has become all sort of super hip and like just talks to you like just a normal casual person.
Yep.
It's like
right, a bro, yeah.
So people are talking to them, and AI does basically feeds the ego unbelievably. Like the fact that you've said that means you're quite different the way you think and all this kind of thing. And so people are getting these falsely inflated egos and being fed and becoming sort of dependent on what AI says and how they feel about themselves. And as I said, breaking up marriages, all sorts of things. And
they're falling in love with their computers instead of their wives.
Yeah, what was that movie with Joaquin Phoenix?
Her.
Yeah, I was thinking
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's classic. When was that? I think that was 2002 or something, that movie.
Good question. Yeah. Jamie, pull it up. Okay, I'll pull it up. But before I do that, I was just going to say, to what Stella was saying, the other thing is this whole, the crisis. Like, for example, and I talk about this all the time, but the crisis of like mental health, Monica talked about this years ago, of them cultivating the mental health crisis, this epidemic of loneliness, as they talk about, right?
Yeah.
So when you actively cultivate that, in a million different ways with the entity out there that's like introducing drugs into the communities, and getting people hooked on drugs. And the entity can do that through a lot of different ways, whether that's through gang lifestyle, or whether that's through doctors prescribing it to you because it's not addictive, and a huge oopsie many decades later or many years later, it actually is addictive after it decimates families and lives. And then we've got like the poison food, and we've got the porn, and we've got endless wars and all of these things. And you have a failing public education system as well, and so much more is going on, but that's a handful of things. So it's working to create the mental health crisis and the epidemic of loneliness, and then people are dependent on our devices. The brains have been hacked, the data has been studied, we talked about this, the algorithms, how can they manipulate people most effectively. And I think when you combine all of those things, it's really a perfect storm for a human being looking for meaning, looking for companionship, to be kind of picked up by this really nefarious thing. And it's, it's very sad. It's very sad, but I almost look at it in the way of any other addiction, like a human having an addiction to opioids or something like that because of their despair or because of their trauma, or young men having porn addictions. It's feeling something for these people, at least originally. And then, of course, what Stella was saying is having very negative impacts on their real human relationships. And it's very unfortunate to see.
Yeah, they really pick on the vulnerable and the weak. I mean, that's their specialty. They always hide behind children and animals and old people and pick on the weak. So, yeah, it's just the way they work. Demons.
Yep.
But yeah, it's everywhere. I mean, they've got
Absolutely.
AI has covered everything. It's got, it's covered the music. It's like it's covering every aspect. It's covering the people who will talk to it, and those people that won't talk to it will listen to AI music probably. And yeah, it's everywhere. It's really has taken over. In fact, just yesterday in that medical center that I went to, I noticed there was a little thing on the wall that's saying we now use AI, such and such software or something, to transfer the, keep the records or something or other. It's like, oh, okay, right.
Wow.
I should have asked them about it. Actually, I will. I might go and ask them about exactly what that means. But it's everywhere. It's infiltrated everywhere.
I've heard that they are using AI in parallel with diagnoses for things, and the AI is starting to be more accurate, if it's not already more accurate than the humans that are trying to diagnose things. And
well,
so,
yeah, considering. Sorry.
Yeah, pretty soon it's just going to be, you'll have the human factor will be incidental. It'll just be ornamental. You'll be sitting in front of a doctor, and he'll just have a pad in front of him. The pad will be listening to what your symptoms are, and the pad will say, "Oh, here you go. This is what your thing is," and the guy will, "Yep, that's what your disease is, and this is what you should be prescribed," and that'll be it.
Like
which isn't too far
idiocracy.
off from how they do it now, but yes,
It's really
just like
not, because
idiocracy.
they have a very a pretty strict rubric of what you're allowed to have and what they're allowed
Yep.
to use to consider. They're not big on thinking outside of the box. They're not big on prescribing outside of the box or recommending outside of the box. So you're right there. And I think maybe that's part of it, right? Make modern day healthcare so atrocious that you would be fine. Literally, you would be okay with an AI program over the current medical healthcare system. I 100% think that was part of that, because so many people started recognizing, like, oh wow, I really hope that I never have to go to the hospital because they're probably going to kill me. It's like, it's at a crisis level. Her came out in 2013. I don't remember when Stella was
okay.
saying, but
I
that's
thought
what.
it was much earlier than that. Right.
Okay. Yeah. So this says 2013. And then so over on the Rumble chat, End Imperialism said that naked humans are beautiful, porn is ugly. I agree. And Birdhouse said, we used to call loneliness simple boredom back in the day. Yes. And then End Imperialism said, destroying the human culture. Absolutely. And like what Stella was saying, in a million different ways, culture, not just American culture, not just Australian or Anglo-American or whatever you want to call it, or any other culture. It's all cultures, and that's also part of it, right? To get into, if you have a one world government or two world government, it's a lot easier if people are on the same page and don't remember their roots, and they don't remember anything that would be identifying for where they came from or who they came there with.
Yeah. Oh, what I was going to say before was that what is it? Medical intervention is the third biggest killer.
Yes,
isn't it? Yeah.
Thirdly,
So in that sense, if that is a correct statistic, in that sense, maybe AI might get a few more things right, because as we know, doctors are bloody incompetent and owned. So, you can't expect. I'm not saying all of them. If there's any doctors listening, respect.
Yeah. It's yeah, go ahead, Stella. Yeah.
No, it's all right. I was just going to say that the ones that, it's okay. You go.
Being a doctor is just a profession like anything else, and we should treat it like that. And there's going to be good ones and bad ones. Nowadays, I think they're so strictly tied to, at least in America, to the insurance companies, because we don't have nationalized health here like they do elsewhere. And I personally think that's a good thing that we don't have nationalized healthcare system, but it's so highly regulated here. It's almost the same thing anyway. And the insurance companies, incentivize the doctors for doing all sorts of different things. So it's not really the doctors making the decisions for your health necessarily. And it really, there is a concept that has sprung up recently called concierge practices, where you pay a yearly fee to be kind of a part of their patient circle. And it's expensive, but I think that, and this is just from hearsay, that those doctors tend to be more like the old school way of thinking about going to see your doctor. You go and you have a conversation with them and tell them, and they think about your things, and you have a relationship with your doctor. It's not you're registering to be a part of a system that's being heavily controlled and influenced by the insurance companies that are in turn being heavily controlled by the regulatory bodies and laws issued by the government and the lobbyists that influence all that. And it's just a big incestuous circle jerk, right? That's the term for it.
I like jerkle.
Yeah, jerkle. I like jerkle.
So that's kind of how it's become. And people think, oh, well, everybody has a right to perfect health care. Like, no, you don't. You don't have a right to that shit. It's just it's a product. It's a service, like everything else, like education is a service.
The problem that I have is the industry becoming co-opted and having regulatory capture. It's not that you're always going to have 100% customer service or 100% accuracy or 100% bedside manner or any of those things. But without the meddling of the regulatory capture, we would be in a much better situation without buying up all the small local doctors and turning it into mega, cone health or whatever health you want to call it. It's incredible. And then the extra administration costs that are associated with it. You're not paying for doctor, nurse, surgery equipment. You're paying for these giant administration costs. It's also backward. And back to what Stella was saying earlier, it's the inverse. It's complete inverse. Like, if anything, it should be putting all the money into the doctors and the nurses and the education and researching and finding more information and more ways to help your patients, but that's not how it is. And really quick before I throw it back to you, Bettina said, don't go see a doctor anymore. They don't know nothing. Doctors are only good for broken bones, nothing else. And I happen to agree in a lot of ways. Unless it's an emergency situation or a triage type situation, then it's best to avoid most settings. Now, I'm lucky enough to have a doctor, exactly what Keel is talking about, that he formerly was an emergency room doctor, and they had the mandate for the vaccine, and he didn't want to take it. And his family had a lot, him and his wife had a lot of concerns about that. They talked about it, made the decision for him to leave. He started with 2 other nurse administrators from the hospital, a what they refer to as the health bar, and it was doing infusions, so like hydration infusions, anti-aging, pro metabolic, pro like post COVID protocol, like get a bunch, high dose vitamin C and these infusions and things like that. Then he spun off from there and started his own independent practice where he was working as a general practitioner. And then they're gradually evolving, and then they have a subscription model, so then you can pay based on your family or the amount of people in your household X dollars a month based on your age range, and then you're part of the practice. So then if you, like what Keel was saying back in the old days, if you want to email them, and you can expect to get an email back. If you call them, you can expect them to answer the phone or call you back directly, answer your question directly, instead of just like, you need to come in. Or they will cover, your annual visit, or if you needed to go in the meantime, because you're part of their co-op or whatever you want to say, then you don't have a payment for the visit. If you need something, you can call and say, hey, can you prescribe this for me? And if, as long as it's not anything crazy, then they'll work with you. And it's such a relief to be part of something like that, because you know that they're going to be available to you, and you actually do have that relationship with them. Okay.
Yeah, it's sort of the it's the start, I suppose, or the early part of building the alternative society, really, isn't it? Breaking free.
Yes, and that's a great point, because sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, but sometimes it's the small acts that we take part in that can make a difference in to preserve our our life as humans, and human relationships, and business free from the meddling and the pressure of whatever a tyrannical government dictates to us.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to do it sort of the way they've done it, in the sense of they've been working on this stuff for a very, very long time, as we know. Little bit by little bit, boil the frog slowly, bring in this, bring in that, bring in this, making it look like it's something else, but in the end, it's actually that. So, yeah. So we just need to do this. We're not gonna have this massive, huge breakthrough. It's going to be little tiny bits all building together, making a foundation and building it up and up and up. So got to start somewhere, but that's good. Yeah. And homeschooling, hopefully that trend will continue to rise, except sadly quite a few parents homeschool and then they don't really do anything, but it's just up to each individual. And it's
hard to do.
And they still may be better off, honestly. Even if you go and do nothing, at least hopefully they're not going to be exposed to violence or potential predation from the staff at that school, or, very toxic and harmful ideology or information that they're too young to be exposed to. So I think you would almost be better unschooling. Now, of course, that means like you would need to keep track of the tablet and the online time and things like that. Before I hand it back, I just want to say also, Am I Tweaking from Twitch said they are practicing, which I guess is talking about the doctors. Yes, they're practicing for sure. And then a squirrel said the medical system that Keel is describing is much like the community-supported agriculture and are based on a communitarian ideology, the answer to communism, socialism, and crony capitalism. Yeah.
So, okay. Communitarianism. We did a show about that recently.
Yes. These are our guests, Brian and Jenna.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Squirrel. Yeah. So, all right. That's the wording there was a little bit confusing, but okay. Yeah. So I can't tell if he's saying that they are against the idea of, what do you call it? What did I say? What did I call it? What did I call that?
Communitarianism.
No. The medical thing where you pay the monthly.
Oh, like the co-op.
The co-op, but it's concierge is the word that I was looking for. So are they saying that the concierge medical system is just as bad? It's part of the communitarian ideology? Because it seems to me like you think they're for it. Okay.
Can we just get a confirmation on that, please, Squirrel?
Maybe. See, well,
I mean, they are.
I can't imagine they wouldn't be. It's like the concierge system seems to me like since you're putting in some more money into that particular doctor's pocket, you are more of a stakeholder, and therefore they have a motivation to do what's right by you, as opposed to whatever stipends they're getting from the insurance company in order to, when they give you a jab or whatever it is that they're getting kickbacks for. They are working for you, not the system, as much as the idea.
True.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I suppose there will be some that will find that that's a good money maker, so they might not be in it for quite the right reasons. But I think generally most of the doctors that are doing that would probably be because they want to break free from it too, perhaps. Or they can't fully. And I mean, like I wasn't. I had no intention to go to a doctor again, but there's some things you just can't do yourself.
Right,
I mean, you can't pull your own teeth. You're going to have to go to a dentist.
Yep.
I mean, you can if you want to be in pain, but
you're right. Sometimes we, unfortunately, the information and the knowledge imbalance is such that with us regular plebeians that we need to do that. Sometimes it really is like that. And
yeah, I mean,
what are you going to do?
I can't tell on my skin what is a cancerous thing and what's not. And I can't remove it myself unless I cut it out and, bite a bullet.
Now, I will tell you, they give a lot of false positives with that. They invented something called, it's like stage 0. So there's a lot of, that's a whole other show, but I just want to, I can't get out of here without crapping on dermatologists and their desire to get you to coat your skin in toxic chemicals to prevent getting some sunlight. So
yep, those UV rays, they're a bitch, aren't they? When it comes to dentistry, all you need, as we've all seen, all you need is an ice skate and a rock.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
Or a piece of string and a door that you can slam real quick.
That too.
I remember doing that as a kid.
You would have done that.
Well, when your teeth are falling out as a kid.
Yeah, you would be the one brave enough to do it. What a stinker. Okay, so they Brian and Jenna wrote back and said you should read Ken Kesey. That's Kesey. Ken Kesey's book from 1963, Sometimes a Great Notion. So I will make a note of that, guys, and hopefully we can, come back to that. And they said Ken was MK Ultra and worked for the CIA to introduce communitarianism confusion to the USA West Coast. Okay. All right. And then if they haven't, they can refer back to our episode that we did do with Brian and Jenna on communitarianism. So please feel free to check that out. Yep. And then the other thing before, I think we're getting ready to wrap it up and I'm going to let those guys talk, but I just wanted to thank everybody that joined us in the chat. Thank you so much, Dream Real. We appreciate you. Thank you, The More over on Twitch. Thank you to Bettina, Geoengineering Free Canada. We appreciate you guys for showing up and joining us. We really appreciate it. And we know that it was also last minute. And also Brian and Jenna, a squirrel on YouTube. Thank you for your input and your chatting. And then we also had Am I Tweaking over on Twitch. Thank you very much. And then we had our friends over on Rumble, End Imperialism, Birdhouse Blues, Dustin Helm, and I think I caught everybody over there, but I just wanted to thank everyone again for for joining us, hanging out with us. We appreciate it. This was kind of an unusual episode of just us getting together and shooting the breeze, and it was a lot of fun. So thanks for joining. Okay.
Absolutely. I'd just like to back that one up and say thank you very much as well. And it's always fun. It's fun to interact with people.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Thank you, Ashley, and thank you, Stella, for your insights. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. Any last plugs? Stella, do you got anything you want to plug?
No.
Got any irons in the fire? No?
Well, I have, but I think it's a little early to announce at this point. So
okay. We got that upcoming album of folk hits coming out soon.
Bit of country hip hop.
There you go.
Keel's favorite genre. How did you know?
I'm only going to listen to it if you have the voice modulation thing going.
Yeah, make myself
T-Pain-
sound like a big
T-Pain
black man.
style.
Well, I have
you
the
go.
inside scoop, and I know that it is a hip hop country album with the voice modulation. So you're in
That's awesome. I'm going to love it. All right, guys. Great show. I loved it. We are the Union of the Unknowns, and we are out.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye soon.
Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Union of the Unknowns. You can find new episodes every week on all your favorite podcasting networks.